eventually go free.
See you back here in the morning, Andy.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. The University of Utah football team will not be going to a bowl game this year after dropping their 7th straight game against Iowa State over the weekend. The loss was a tough one to swallow for Utah's seniors, including Junior Tafuna and Connor O'Toole.
I just love everyone there, our fans, everyone who stayed faithful with us even until now. Grateful for it all.
It's not about football for me. It's the last time playing with my brothers.
The Utes will play their final game of the season at UCF this Friday. They will likely be without quarterback Isaac Wilson, who left Saturday's game with an injury. The Utah Hockey Club got a win and a loss on a back-to-back over the weekend. Utah crushed Pittsburgh 6-1 on Saturday, spoiling a Penguins celebration for Sidney Crosby's 600th career goal. But Utah ended up dropping last night's game in Toronto 3-2. Their next game is in Montreal tomorrow night. Our top national story from ABC News, the Thanksgiving travel rush is expected to be bigger than ever this year. AAA predicts that nearly 80 million people in the U.S. will venture at least 50 miles from home between tomorrow and next Monday. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 394 now. That's 0.9%. We're at 44,691. Coming up, we should get up into the upper 40s today, but the storm comes in tomorrow. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, Dee and I had the chance to see Beauty and the Beast, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, at Hale Center Theater. It is something you do not want to miss this holiday season. The voices delivering those beloved songs to perfection is simply wonderful. I asked Dee, what was your favorite part? And she's seen a lot of versions of Beauty and the Beast, literally around the world. She said, where do you possibly start on this? But the costumes were spectacular. She loved Belle's ensemble. With Hale Center Theater's magic, it is incredible. The staging and the special effects, the transformation from Beast to the Prince is simply masterful. Hale Center Theater, don't miss Beauty and the Beast. And give a gift of Hale Center Theater. Whether it's tickets to A Christmas Carol, gift cards make a great gift, season tickets to the 2025 season, it awaits you. Go to hct.org.
Harbor Freight knows tool people like to keep busy. But with our Black Friday sale coming up Thanksgiving weekend, you'll want to free up some time. We're talking deals like our 5,000-watt generators under $800, 17-foot ladders for $99.99, and 40% off Icon Pro socket sets. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 12/2/24 while supplies last. Limitations apply.
Welcome to Staples.
Help! My family's in for the holidays and I need gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect! Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but the guy is never quiet.
Noise-canceling headphones. For you.
You get it.
Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples. And right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 12/28, in-store only.
You might not consider yourself a tech expert, but you can still protect yourself from online scammers with McAfee Total Protection. From fake delivery texts to bank alerts, scams are everywhere. That's where McAfee Total Protection steps in. McAfee will help keep your devices and identity safer and your private info private. Visit McAfee.com/online protection and get up to 79% off award-winning online protection. This Black Friday Cyber Monday deal won't last. Offer ends 12/4/24. That's McAfee.com/online protection. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We're still dealing with multiple crashes right now. One of them is on the west side belt, I-215, as you head east away from Redwood Road toward I-15. The left lane is blocked and it is causing quite a bit of slowdown in the area. We're still cleaning up a crash southbound I-15 in Clearfield just before you get to 700 South exit. That's on the right shoulder. And then we've got a new one southbound I-15 in Midvale. This is just after you pass the I-215 overpass over on the left shoulder. When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection, 4 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Truck Country. See it all at performancebountiful.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be a little warmer today, highs around 47 degrees. A small chance of the rain moving in tonight, but mostly the storm is tomorrow. Right now it's sunny and 34 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
What is going on in Ada County is making national news. Saw the story in the New York Times, Dave. And we're gonna fly up to Ada County, which is where Boise is, in just a few minutes, to get a live update from the county clerk's office. They are set to publish election ballots online on a public website.
It's exactly like you said. You're like, okay, well, what do you mean by they're going to publish the ballot? You can't wait to listen to this, because this might end up becoming the new standard. I could see other places around the country absolutely embracing publishing of the ballots. But before you panic and you think, I don't want people to know how I voted, it's still confidential. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
You know, it is a huge week for travel, either by air or ground, and for shopping. So we have got you covered all week long. In our 11 o'clock hour, going in depth on how not to get stung this week by a store's deferred interest offer when you're Black Friday shopping. You're like, well, what is that? Well, it's a plan where you buy it now, you put it on credit, but you don't pay interest on that purchase for 12 to 18 months. It sounds glorious when you're standing in line and looking at a way to save money. But there are some pitfalls you need to know before you go.
There's also some real benefits to this, Debbie. I've actually done the deferred interest thing, and it was the deferred interest threat that actually got me to pay it off on time.
Countdown. 2.
Oh, this is unique in so many ways. But there will be a public lottery that's going to get underway in Los Angeles to hand out public seats for the first hearing for the Menendez brothers as they attempt to, it's the first hearing in decades, as these 2 brothers attempt to be let out of prison. Now, they were convicted of first-degree murder of their parents and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And this happened in the 90s. And this trial captured national attention.
Would you state your name again for the record, please?
Joseph Lyle Menendez.
Right.
Mr. Menendez, I've placed a picture up on the board. Do you recognize that photograph?
That's my dad.
And I look at this, Debbie, and I think, boy, does this undercut the sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole? Because I know a lot of victims' families will look at that and say, well, at least they're never going to get out. Well, here's a case where the Menendez brothers very well could get out, could be released out of prison after a little more than 30 years.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
In the top of the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to go in depth on that county in Idaho. It's set to publish election ballots. And at first I was like, what? Yes, ballots will be published on a public website for anyone to see. For anyone to see. Now, there's a lot to this story. So our first stop will be at the Ada County Clerk's office. The public information officer is already lined up to call the show in the next few minutes for the clerk's office, and we're going to ask her live. What will we be actually able to see on these ballots when they are published? And then we're going to ask a local county clerk here in Utah, is this something that we can do here too?
This is a great story. I'm really excited to learn more about it, but I can't help but think, we just reported on this last week, the freak out about people divulging how you dropped off the ballot, whether you mailed it by United States Postal Service, whether it was a drop-off, you voted in person. That was just talking about the envelope. Now we're talking about publishing the ballots. Why you shouldn't be panicking.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
We didn't hope to go far to find this top national story. It is just across the border in Ada County. It's where Boise is. You've been through there. You know it's not a small town. In fact, there are nearly 300,000 ballots from this last election that are set to be published on a public website. And you're like, why? Why would they do this? Well, the goal for the county clerk was to quash election mistrust. See it for yourself. It's on a public website.
The number one question I want to hear from Ada County, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding it crystal clearly, that at no point is anyone going to know how I voted, because secret ballots, us being able to vote with complete trust and secrecy, is absolutely essential in the election process. I want to make sure, with all of this transparency movement, that no one is still going to know how I voted.
So it's going to display the ballot images. We just were communicating this morning before the show with the clerk's office in Ada County, and it'll display the ballot images, but it doesn't list the voter's name.
Nowhere on there.
Yeah, well, you get a ballot. You don't see your name printed on your ballot,
Nope.
right? It's never been printed. Well, we looked at. There's already some images that we've looked at through that New York Times report, because the New York Times has been reporting on this, and it's just a ballot image. So, boy, this really does take the sting, in my view, out of the mistrust, right? I mean, go see it for yourself. Transparency is like the antiseptic for mistrust, right? It's out there. It's on a public website. You can fish around and you can see how, who votes were cast for. But there are some steps that Ada County is taking to protect voters. My read of this is that small precincts will be redacted. Because let's say there's only 3 people in a precinct or something like that. So small precinct, right? You'd be able to really kind of drill down on anybody in that precinct voted for, one candidate over the other. So small precincts will be redacted, which I thought was a smart move. And there's no name info associated with the ballot that's going to be online.
And that same thing happens here in Utah. We have an envelope that has your name, it has your signature, and then your ballot is inside. But before they count the ballot, or even before they remove the ballot, they do all the verification without looking at your ballot here in Utah. Once they verified that this is really you, that's your signature, then they separate the envelope and the ballot. And when those are separated, then they are completely and totally separated. So no one would be able to go back and say, oh, well, now we know how Debbie voted, or we know how Dave voted. So that's how we do it here. Well, then you can publish the ballots because we don't know who that ballot is attached to.
What do you think of this?
I think it's very interesting. It also seems incredibly boring. Like, who is actually going to go through 300,000 ballots, staring at them and counting them up? I can't ever imagine doing something like that.
Political campaigns, maybe.
But maybe somebody will, right? Maybe someone wants to run their own audit and they want to compare the results. Again, when we're talking about transparency, this is next level transparency. I don't know if we've ever seen this before.
Well, the clerk has said in the New York Times article that this is a way to deal with the mistrust angle of elections. As mistrust has boiled up, I think clerks have been trying to figure out a way. And one of the things that the clerks here do is you can take a tour of their, the facility at any time. You can go in and you can see how they do things. Well, in this case, this county clerk up in the Boise area is taking it to a new level by publishing the ballots online on an interactive website. My understanding, Dave, is that this is supposed to drop and go live this week. So let's go up live next to the Ada County Clerk's office and get the scoop firsthand. Now, this is the area that serves the Boise area. It's a large area. There's 271,000 ballots that have been cast in the last general election. So we're going to ask the county clerk's office, what are we going to see when we log on to that website? Because I am curious. How many different things can we look at? We'll be able to see if somebody mailed in their ballot or cast it in person. And then what we'll actually be able to see on those images of the ballots when this website goes live. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Life can feel hard or overwhelming sometimes, but you don't have to face things alone. Getting help for yourself or someone you're worried about starts with a call or text to 988, where you always have someone to talk to, someone to help you, and somewhere safe to go. 988 Utah is here for anyone experiencing mental health challenges or emotional distress. 988 Utah can even help you navigate how to support your struggling loved ones. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or suicidal thoughts, trained professionals are ready to listen and provide free, confidential support 24/7. Utah, don't hesitate to call or text 988 for you or someone you care about. The caring staff at 988 Utah can connect you to the right resources. Learn more at 988.utah.gov.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
It's Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Stack up the savings with deals all month. Get up to 50% off select major appliances, plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to save on string lights, starting at just $298 for 100 count. Shop these deals in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Appliances valid 11/6 to 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items. String lights valid 11/21 through 12/4 while supplies last.
Welcome to Staples.
Help! My family's in for the holidays and I need gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect! Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but the guy is never quiet.
Noise-canceling headphones. For you.
You get it.
Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples. And right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 12/28, in-store only.
The Advanced Window Products end-of-season sale is happening now. Your chance to get beautiful new state-of-the-art windows and save a bundle on your energy bill. Call Advanced Window Products now and they'll give you $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. We're talking about custom frames and sealed double-pane glass, any style, any color, and they're created just for you right here in Utah. You need a doggy door inlaid into the glass? They do it all the time. In fact, Advanced Window Products has been building the highest quality windows here in Salt Lake City for 38 years. So there's no middleman and you save money. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. So keep the heat inside with new windows. The energy companies will even give you a rebate. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing, affordable monthly payments, and now $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Call them right now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
On September 12th, 1995, 12-year-old McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas. It was a crime that shocked the community because the suspect was so unlikely, so unexpected.
Former high-ranking police official, he'd run for sheriff at one point.
Law enforcement personnel were pretty much split down the middle over whether or not he actually did this.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, still feels that justice was never truly served.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a new bill from Senator-elect John Curtis would use AI to fight scammers. It would analyze emails, texts, and web addresses. Second, a dangerous situation played out on I-15 when an unsecured trailer hitch fell onto the road, hitting several cars and flying into the windscreen of a semi. And third, 2 humanities professors at BYU are drawing crowds with their lectures on video games. Right now it's sunny and 34 degrees downtown. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Looking forward to speaking live with the spokesperson of the Ada County Clerk's Office up in the Boise area, Dave, on what these ballot images in this website will look like when it goes live, when we log into the website where voters' ballots in Ada County are set to be published for public view. And my understanding is it could happen sometime this week.
And the idea is to create a level of transparency that it will erase any of the doubts about the process. And this really does. I haven't heard a better pitch so far of complete and total election transparency.
Nicole, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Nicole. Nicole, hopefully I don't mispronounce your name. Is it Camarda?
Yes, it is. You nailed it.
All right.
Perfect.
Public Information Officer for the Ada County Clerk's Office in the Boise area. So walk us through, let's just start here with this transparency issue. Was the clerk concerned that there was just too much mistrust and so decided to go in the direction of publishing ballots online?
Right. So, after the 2020 election, I think it was heard kind of across the country of just people having questions and just, we saw an influx of public records requests in our office. And so the Ada County Clerk, Trent Triple, and the Elections Director, Saul Seiler, really wanted to get the information back to the people. And so that's where we connected with Severa, which is a software company based out of Massachusetts, and their CEO, Adam Friedman. We connected with them and really just wanted to get that information back to people in an interactive way, and that's how the ballot verifier was made. It was about a 2-year project, and it does, exactly what it's supposed to do is really just open another eye into our elections process and the ballot images themselves for people to see right from the comfort of their own home.
We as voters have an absolute right to a secret ballot. Are you at all concerned that people will bristle against the publishing of these ballots, even though you claim that there is no name attached? You wouldn't know that it was my vote per se.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing that connects the voter to the ballot. So we tell people and ensure people that they do have a right to a secret ballot. And we want to maintain that, of course. That's one of our top priorities. So, that's definitely something that's on our minds and something that we're aware of.
So the website is called Ballot Verifier, Nicole?
So, it's so Ballot Verifier is the interactive tool. And people can go to our website, adacountyelections.gov, and they can find the Ballot Verifier there. And it actually is already live. So people are able to go through. Yeah. So we launched it in April of this year. And, we have elections on there with those ballot images all the way back to May of 2022.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first one that we have.
I did see those, but not this year's yet.
So, we have May from this year that's up already, but we're hoping to have November's ballot images up, hopefully within the next couple of days, next week or so. It's just a lot of data and information.
Having to essentially take a photo or a picture of each one of these ballots, does this slow down the process?
It doesn't actually. So when a voter actually casts their ballot, they put it into a scanner at their polling place, and that actually captures the image itself. So it really doesn't slow down like the process on election day or anything. But getting this information and this data to this software company that we're working with, Severa, based on the size of the election and how much data there is, it can take a little bit of time for us to actually get it uploaded to the website for people to view, just because of the amount of information that's there.
So, Nicole, I'm logging on right now. And by the way, we're speaking to Nicole Camarda. I said that right, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to keep getting it right, Nicole. Public Information Officer with the Ada County Clerk's Office, talking about this ballot verifier program. It's an online, it's a public website where they're going to upload the latest election ballots, so from the general election, in just a couple of days. And when you log on to that site then, Nicole, what will people actually be able to see?
Yeah, so once someone logs onto that site, and again, they can go to our website, adacountyelections.gov, and find the ballot verifier from there. They'll find a landing page where they can pick whichever election that they want to look at. They'll select that election, and then from there, they'll be switched to another screen that has all of the contests and ballot questions from that election. And then from that point, they can filter down by office, by candidate, by question type, and just click on whatever race that they want. And then that will show them all of the ballot images and corresponding cast vote records from there. And then they could even filter that down even further by vote type. So if someone wanted to just look, at their precinct and maybe the absentee ballots in that precinct, they can filter down to that level as well. And someone can also download, if they wanted to, all of these pieces of data. I will say it's a lot of data. I don't know how many people want that big of a file on their computer, but if they want to, the option is there.
Nicole, these ballots will all look, I would imagine, nearly identical. But let's say I put a smiley face in the upper right-hand corner that only I would know about. And as I'm going through, is that one way that I could maybe identify, oh, hey, that literally was my ballot because I know I put a little mark here?
Yeah. You totally can do that. I personally did put something on my ballot this year that only I would recognize, so that I can go back and I can check it. But yeah, that is an option for people.
But to find that, I would have to go through nearly 300,000 ballots, right? I mean, it's not like I could narrow it down. I would just have to literally go through all of those ballots?
Well, you could filter it then down by your precinct and then by your vote type. So whatever precinct you lived in and say you voted on election day, you could pick your precinct and then look at the election day ballots, which gives you a smaller pool to look through. It still would probably be a decent amount of ballots to look through, but it would at least be on a smaller scale.
Nicole, before we let you go, my understanding when I read the article in the New York Times, I know there's other articles that have been published about this as well, is that smaller precincts would be redacted so people couldn't kind of figure out how people voted in a particularly small precinct. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we, again, everyone has that right to the secret ballot. And so we want to make sure that you're not able to narrow down kind of if we have a smaller precinct who, could be in that area. And so we worked with the company Severa to make sure that people aren't able to do that and to kind of mask those voters in a way.
Do those smaller precincts just get maybe combined with a larger precinct, or are those unsearchable completely?
So we are kind of combining them, I think, with some of the bigger precincts so that they are, not able to be tracked down.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. This is fascinating. We're actually going to talk to one of our own county clerks here in Utah and see if they've had a similar pitch or heard anything, or if we have something similar here in Utah. So, Nicole, thank you so much for talking to us. Nicole Camarda is the Public Information Officer at Ada County's Clerk's Office.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ballots right now from the previous elections. It's pretty clear. I mean, as you're going through, you can really see who people voted for. Do you have it pulled up, Dave?
Yeah, I'm looking at it from you.
Oh, okay.
It does look like they've changed it. They've made it black and white because sometimes people will, if it were in color, you'd see like a blue or a black ink or red ink, whatever it might be used. But at least what I'm looking at from you right now, it looks like they've turned it black and white.
Well, this is as transparent as transparency can get. So I wonder if it takes the argument out of, it rolls back the mistrust that we've been hearing about elections and how ballots are counted.
Yeah, it's great. I will be very interested to hear from one of our local county clerks and get their impression on this, because as they were explaining it, as we've been reading about it, it really does seem like next level transparency. I wonder if there's a downside.
Yeah. Are you worried about privacy?
Yeah. I don't know.
You asked that one question of her.
She made it sound, she eased my fears about it, but maybe there's something else that I'm not looking at, that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, we'll ask Weber County Clerk Ricky Hatch that question as well when he calls the show next to talk about this.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: a man is dead after he was shot by police in Ogden yesterday. Police say they were called to help keep the peace while a woman removed belongings from a home near 1000 North. They claim her 45-year-old estranged husband confronted them and grabbed a gun. He died at the scene. A neighbor, Matthew Wood, tells KSL TV he feels sorry for everyone involved.
Just kind of goes to show the lack of compassion we have just for mental health in general. The husband being in the position where he felt to make those decisions, the officer having to live with what's happened.
The investigation is ongoing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: a motorcyclist reportedly threatened police officers and their families after a hit-and-run accident. Cedar City police say they got a call after a motorcyclist rear-ended a driver on Route 130 and 3000 North and later found a man with a motorcycle matching the description. Officers say he was visibly intoxicated and later admitted to eating a bunch of magic mushrooms and tripping. He is facing multiple charges. Americans started drinking more alcohol during the pandemic, and they haven't stopped. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
Experts say the stress from the pandemic and being at home all the time raised alcohol sales across the country, with the percentage of heavy drinkers going from 5.1% in 2018 to 6.13% in 2020. Those numbers have only gone up since. That's according to a report from the Annals of Internal Medicine. The biggest change was among white Americans, with women more likely to be heavy drinkers. Experts who worked on the study say it's a dangerous trend, and it doesn't take much alcohol to increase health dangers. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 364 now. That's 0.8%. We're at 44,661. Coming up, we've got relatively warm temperatures today in the mid-40s, but the storm comes in tomorrow. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive. Like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom,
I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you suffering from constant fatigue, joint pain, or digestive issues? Do you have brain fog, anxiety, or depression? Have you seen multiple doctors and still don't have any answers? Have you been told over and over that your blood tests are normal, but you're just not feeling well? At Transformative Medicine, they use specialized testing to find the root cause of the problem and then use cutting-edge therapies to treat it. Call Transformative Medicine today at 844-TALK-2-DOC and receive a free consultation. Finally, get to the root of the problem and have the answers you've been waiting for. Don't wait to get your life back. The first 25 people to call Transformative Medicine at 844-TALK-2-DOC will receive a consultation absolutely free. That's 844-TALK-2-DOC. 844-TALK-2-DOC.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Crews are still working on a couple of crashes on the freeways in the Salt Lake Valley. The first one is eastbound I-215. As you leave Redwood Road, try to head over toward I-15. It's blocking the left lane and shoulder. And then once you get on I-15, if you head northbound toward the 201 freeway, there's another crash right near that 201 freeway split. That's over on the right shoulder, and both of those are just causing about a half mile or so of delay as people approach it. But otherwise, you're going to have a good drive anywhere else you're going. Revere Health encourages you to schedule your preventative care and annual checkups to help increase the potential to live your most healthy and active life. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner for life. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be a little bit warmer today with the highs around 47 degrees, and then that storm moves in tomorrow with rain in the valley and snow in the mountains. Right now it's 34 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, moments ago, we were speaking live with the Ada County Clerk's Office about their move to publish the general election ballots on a public website that anybody can sort through. You can go online to the Ada County, Idaho's clerk's office, and right there, you see it at the top of the page. It's what's it called? Verified. I'm looking it up right now.
Ballot verification.
Yeah, ballot verification. And you can sort through actual ballots. You can see the little bubble. In this case, it's a square on some of the ballots that I'm looking at, filled in and who it was filled in for. And this is a move toward even greater transparency for our county clerks.
You and I were kind of chuckling in the commercial break. This is anecdotal. We speak to a lot of government officials, politicians. Is there anyone easier to get a hold of and talk to than the county clerk? Like we call them up and they are on our show like within minutes or hours. We wanted to show up on Election Day and broadcast live from Davis County Clerk's office, their busiest day of any 4 years. Like, yeah, come on over. We'll take you on a tour on Election Day and show you how we count ballots. It's the level of transparency that I wish we had in every government office because I love it.
There's been an ongoing cry about mistrust in our elections and the ballots and how they're cast. And that is exactly what this program, Ballot Verifier, is designed to, I want to say, push back against. It is all out there. Come and see it. Sort through the ballots for yourself.
You know, after the 2020 election, I think it was heard kind of across the country of just people, you know, having questions and just, you know, we saw an influx of public records requests in our office. And so the Ada County Clerk, Trent Triple, and the Elections Director, Saul Seiler, really wanted to get the information back to the people in an interactive way, and that's how the ballot verifier was made. It was about a 2-year project. And
That's
it does,
Nicole
exactly
Camarda. She's the public information officer from Ada County, the clerk's office there, who called the show just moments ago, walking us through how this works and why they wanted to publish these ballots for anybody to see.
And my biggest concern, my initial concern was, is there any way that my secret ballot would be compromised? Is there any way that somebody would be able to look at this ballot and say, oh, that's Dave Noriega's ballot. I see exactly how he voted. That was my biggest concern. And they said, no, absolutely not. In fact, once we verify that this ballot is legitimate, then we separate the name from the ballot, and then we take the picture of the ballot. So there's nothing that ties the voter to the ballot.
Let's get a Utah County Clerk, and not the Utah County Clerk, but a Utah County Clerk, actually Weber County's Clerk, Ricky Hatch, on the line with us live. What do you think about this, Ricky? Would it work in Utah?
Yes, it would, but I need to include a couple of asterisks with that.
Okay.
And Dave, you hit it right on the head there. It's the secret ballot. Our state constitution guarantees a right to a secret ballot, and we don't have voters' names on the ballot, but we do have their precinct number. Precincts in Utah generally have about 1,000 voters in them, but there are some precincts, because of how boundary lines are drawn, some precincts have 2 voters or 5. Or a really small number. And if we posted those, even though they don't have the voter's name, let's just say it's a precinct that has 1 household in it and everybody votes for the same candidates, now their right to a secret ballot has been compromised. There are ways that we can get around that. It'll be a little tricky with the actual ballot images, but there are some ways you can do that by combining small precincts together to form kind of a fake large precinct. Of course, when you do that, you lose some of the transparency that we're hoping for. But by and large, the overall idea is helpful, as long as the juice is worth the squeeze. It's there's a bit of cost involved, and I'm curious how many voters will actually look at it. But I don't have a problem with the concept at all.
When Ada County was doing this and describing the way they capture the photo, they say they just scan the photo. That's how they basically run things in Ada County. Do we do something similar, or do you do something similar in Weber, that when you get a ballot and you run it through, does it take a scan or a photo of the ballot already, or is that something you would have to add?
No, we wouldn't have to add that. We do that in Utah already. When the ballot is scanned and converted into a machine-readable format, the digital image of the front and back of that ballot is retained and preserved as an election return. It's sealed up after the election is certified, and then we keep that on file for 22 months. So it would not be hard to access those files of those images. We would just have to ensure that we're protecting the voters' privacy.
Okay, so you could theoretically just take those images like Ada County has and then upload them? I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying theoretically you could.
Yeah, if as long as the law allowed for it. Right now it doesn't allow for that. We'd have to change that. But, yeah, technologically we could do that. Ada took an additional step and put the cast vote record. Basically, I don't know if it's superimposed or if it's next to it or something like that, but to show how the machine read that ballot, we have the technology to be able to do that as well. So we would just need to address the cost and, of course, the secret ballot.
We're talking live right now to Weber County Clerk Ricky Hatch about what's happening in the Boise area in Idaho. It's Ada County, and the clerk's office there is set to publish the ballots from the general election. Of course, that's the presidential election. And no identifying information with that ballot. You can just go online and you'll be able to see how votes were cast in terms of who they were cast for. And Ricky, I want to get back to what you said just a few minutes ago. You said, is the juice worth the squeeze? And they've decided it is in Ada County because of the level of mistrust. Does something like this, in your view, take the argument out of the mistrust argument when it comes to elections? It's like, there it is. Go check it out for yourself. It's all online.
It certainly helps. And election officials, we really try our very best to be as absolutely transparent as possible. We have tours in Weber County. We do tours every month for the public. They can come in and see the process. Every processing of every minute of every ballot has to be notified to the public in advance, and has to be recorded under surveillance cameras. And we conduct audits in which we have citizens participate as well as observe. So we really try to do everything we can. The question is how much, and how much of the public is actually going to take advantage of this.
Right.
We have tours in Weber County each month. Some months, not a single person comes. Out of 275,000 people, not a single person comes. Our most we've ever had was 29, which was great. I loved it, and that was in October of this year. So there's a lot of clamor for transparency, and we want to provide it. Transparency comes at a cost, which we're totally happy to provide. Just want to make sure that we're being responsible with taxpayer dollars.
Ricky Hatch, thank you so much for joining us, Weber County Clerk. We want to hear from you guys. Give us a call right now, 801-575-TALK. Do you like this idea? Is this the best or worst idea ever? The idea of capturing the image of the ballot and then publishing it online. Again, to be very clear, your name isn't on the ballot, right? No one would know how you're voting, but would you like to see how your district or your precinct is voting? Would you go in there and actually look at these images, run your own little audit? Is this a complete and total waste of time, or is this a great idea? 801-575-TALK. Would love to hear from you.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you have a family member or a loved one, somebody that is struggling with addiction, let me tell you about Renaissance Ranch, because they offer free family support services through weekly online classes.
Yeah, these are faith-based, and they're clinically proven for more than 20 years. And Renaissance Ranch does a great job at treating the entire family. And I've said it so many times. When a loved one is going through an addiction, it's very important that you don't lose yourself in their addiction. And that's why these free classes that you can take in the comfort of your own home are just so promising.
I'm just looking at their website right now, again, renaissanceranch.com, and I see that Monday there is a couples addiction recovery group at 8:45 tonight. You can join these Zoom groups. Again, they're free. They're available. Renaissance Ranch has been clinically proven, faith-based, and doing this for more than 20 years.
And those classes are free to the public. And I've asked them before, Dave, do you have to have somebody attending Renaissance Ranch? No, it's for anybody. So I think that's important to keep in mind. You can just jump online and take these classes.
Yeah, one of those great resources they offer. Just find out more at renaissanceranch.com.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com. This week, win tickets to the Festival of Trees, a magical event benefiting the kids of Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital, December 4th through the 7th. Or win tickets to Deck the Halls with Emmy Award-winning composer Kurt Fester at A Kurt Fester Christmas, December 5th through the 7th at the Eccles Theater downtown. Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $9.99. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $9.99, PCLaptops.com.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then, browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes a new inventory every day. Then, they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. You're invited to visit the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit NPSstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. NPSstore.com.
It's complicated. These days, that's how people even describe their relationship status. When it comes to the latest complexities in your car, it's gotten really complicated. The experts at AMCO undergo the most rigorous training to stay on top of the latest car technologies, so there's nothing we can't fix. Well, except for that complicated relationship. When it comes to that, you're on your own. AA, MCO. Check engine light on? We'll check it for free.
Christmas comes to life at J&J Garden Center with colorful poinsettias, greenery, vintage-inspired ornaments, and 30% off all Christmas decor and gifts. J&J Garden Center in Layton.
Your business needs a network it can count on.
Power's out.
Comcast Business has you covered with Wi-Fi backup to help keep your business up and running, even when your power goes out.
Everybody in the warehouse good? Lights are out, but the Wi-Fi's up. Let's power on.
It's from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
Break room, you good?
Can't microwave my burrito, but Wi-Fi's fine. Let's power on.
Power on with the leader in connectivity, Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ask about Wi-Fi backup for your business or get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract, plus for a limited time. Ask about an $800 holiday bonus prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online to ComcastBusiness.com today. Ins 12/15/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet and security edge. EcoBill and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, President-elect Donald Trump's top 15 picks for his administration are complete, but not without criticism. Second, a man is dead after he was shot by police in Ogden yesterday. Police say he confronted them and grabbed a gun. Third, about 250 families were invited to pick up food for Thanksgiving, and much of the donated food came from Utah Jazz player Jordan Clarkson. Right now, it's 34 degrees downtown. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
We're taking your live phone calls about what's going on in the Boise area of Idaho. If you're confused about where Boise, Idaho is, as one of our texters just wrote in, it's up north. It's up north of Utah. It's called Ada County. That's the county Boise sits in. Of course, there's other cities in Ada County. And what the county clerk is doing there, it has really captured our attention today and our focus. They are set to publish for the first time general election results on a website for anybody to see, not just the results, the ballots, to be more clear, the ballots. So not your name, but who you voted for would be out there on that website for anybody to take a look at.
One thing I think I would probably do maybe once just out of the curiosity factor is I would fill out my ballot. Maybe I'd throw a little smiley face in the upper right-hand corner. And then I could go in and see if it really was counted. Will I see that ballot marked with my little smiley face in the corner, or however I wanted to do it? No one else would know it, but I would know it. It's a level of transparency that I like. I don't know if it's worth moving mountains for, but if it's just a little bit of extra work for more transparency, it seems like a pretty good idea.
We're going to take your live phone calls in just a minute to have you weigh in on whether you like the idea or don't like the idea at 801-575-TALK. But there's some layers to this. One of those layers is, how do you protect voters in super duper small precincts, right? I mean, not every precinct has thousands of people. Well, what Ada County is doing is, when we talk to their spokesperson, is they will combine the small precincts with the larger precincts, so it kind of gets washed out, if you will, and you won't really know that those particular votes, if it's just a handful of votes, are coming from that one precinct. And then also there's obvious concern about, like you've said, Dave, will my information, like my personally identifiable information, somehow be connected to my ballot? And it's not. These ballots don't have your names on them, but we asked the public information officer about that very thing with Ada County.
So once someone logs onto that site, and again, they can go.
Sorry, I picked the wrong clip. But she told us, Nicole Camarda told us that you cannot tell who that ballot came from. 801-575-TALK.
Let's start off with Bill in Ogden. Bill, what do you think?
Hey, I'm a real fan of putting this stuff on the internet, and pretty much any government function. The thing is, the transparency promotes engagement. Look, I don't have the time to show up to random meetings that Ricky Hatch goes to, but I definitely have time to write a quick Python script with my kids, after dinner to do our own little mini audits and, teach them how the process works, teach them more about computers and stuff like that. So I'm a fan of doing it.
I love it. I think we could write some code for that. We could do our own little audit. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. Mark in Cedar Hills. What do you think, Mark? Is this one of the best ideas ever, or does this have you scratching your head?
Well, it doesn't seem to me to show the most interesting things. This shows you these are all the ballots we approved, and you can check whether we counted them correctly, but that's likely to be the case if they count them correctly. The more interesting questions still don't get answered. For example, was this set of ballots harvested from a assisted living place, and maybe they helped them fill it out, and did they really record what the people there wanted? Or if you're in a county where you have a county clerk that's one party and he gets a bunch of ballots from an area that's from the other party, does that accidentally get kicked under a table somewhere and not counted? You still don't know.
Mark, I worry about that kind of rhetoric because this is a step of transparency unlike I think we've ever seen before. So does that level of transparency not satisfy your concerns?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't because it would take a lot of malfeasance that I don't attribute to any of the officers here that they would intentionally miscount something, and so it's other problem areas that are more difficult to track down.
Okay, thanks for your call, Mark. Let's get to, is it Pritha?
This is Pritha.
Hi, Pritha.
Hi,
in Springville. Hi, how are you?
I am so good. You guys are so awesome.
Thank you.
I called once long back during COVID, and you were very kind to take my call, and thank you again.
I remember your name, and so how do you feel about this this level of transparency and ballots being published online?
Okay, so I am a life coach, and I've worked all my life with human behaviors, Debbie. My question for anything we do systemically is always a why. I mean, help me understand how and why this is important or useful. So, what purpose does it solve for me to know at the end of the day how my neighbors voted or didn't? Is this a way to exclude or include myself, or feel, oh, great, everyone voted like I did, or, oh, heck, no one did? What is the end philosophical purpose of this? That is the reason I've called. So I'm asking you a question.
No, it is a great question. I think it's an important question. I think ultimately what you're looking for is the numbers that our county clerks are reporting. Do you trust those numbers? And if you wanted to run back and conduct your own little audit and double check their work, this would be a way to literally look at the ballots that they were counting and figure out for yourself if this is accurate with the way they're reporting things. Some people will find that entirely laborious and tedious and awful. Other people, that's what they want to do. That maybe that's a hobby or they're an interest that they want to do, but to just double check the work.
And any time, just in my experience as a journalist for decades, anytime something is published online in a searchable public website, that adds a layer of transparency to any government office. And I think we long for more transparency and not less transparency with government. And it also potentially eliminates stacks of records requests that pour into these government offices, something that we don't see every day because we don't work in these offices. But anytime there's an election, there's the chance that a lot of groups or people will be flooding our clerks' offices with records requests, which they have a right to file. And so just having this out there could certainly end up being more cost effective than not putting it out there, actually. So I think there's a lot of reasons to do it. I think there's some good arguments not to do it. I guess we'll have to stand by and see if Utah will do it.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A frightening scene played out on I-15 in Clearfield after an unsecured trailer hitch fell off a pickup truck. The hitch slid across the freeway, was hit by several drivers. Resident Mark Gamone says he hit the hitch first. Soon other people were pulling over too. Then something happened that really caught his eye.
And then a semi pulled in behind us, and we noticed a large hole in the passenger side of his windshield. It looked like some sort of debris. We presume the hitch had flown into the cab of his truck.
And in the end, nobody was hurt in that accident. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. While Macy's is preparing for the big holiday parade this week, also dealing with a huge embezzling case, here's ABC's Brian Clark.
It's delaying reporting its third quarter earnings. That's because Macy's discovered an employee hid up to $154 million in expenses over 3 years. Macy's says that employee's no longer with the company and will release the earnings when a full independent investigation is complete.
Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 304 points, while the NASDAQ is up 72. And our KSL weather. Enjoy the sunshine because it's going away tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01. News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
This holiday season, experience the magical sound of Celtic Woman. Celtic Woman, White Christmas Symphony Tour, December 3rd at Maurice Abravanel Hall with the Utah Symphony, featuring Celtic Woman's favorite Yuletide songs with the thrilling sound of a full symphony orchestra. Tickets on sale now at utahsymphony.org. Get your tickets early. This concert sold out last 2 years. Celtic Woman, White Christmas Symphony Tour.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
You know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place?
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
Built with players no one else wanted.
We knew no one believed in us.
Reached the league's highest heights.
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
Russell has made a champion out of Real Salt Lake.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, things are moving back at freeway speeds on I-15, all directions as you make your way through Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. Still cleaning up a crash on the west side belt. This is I-215 as you head eastbound away from Redwood Road before you get to the I-15 merge. That's over on the left shoulder, but there are no slowdowns due to that. And you're going to have a good drive through the mountains right now, I-84, I-80, and even going into some of our canyons. The Christ Kindle Market, December 4th through 7th at This Is the Place Heritage Park, has more booths, food, entertainment, and free nearby parking and shuttle. Details at map. Visit thisistheplace.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 47. We're expecting a substantial storm with rain and snow overnight into tomorrow. The chance of snow will continue into Wednesday. Right now, 36 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, if you've been around a minute like me and Dave, you probably remember the names Eric and Lyle Menendez. Convicted in the 90s of killing their parents, Jose and Kitty, back in 1989. Got life in prison without the possibility of parole. But here we are today in 2024 talking about their bid to get out of prison.
And I wonder how much of this is because of the many books and movies and documentaries that tend to spin up after a few decades have passed. Netflix, there's a documentary right now. There's a movie out there about the Menendez brother killings. It's been so long, I think we've forgotten a little bit about what happened in the trial itself, and we'll try to catch you up on some of those details because it's been more than 30 years.
ABC legal analyst Royal Oakes on the line with us live right now from Los Angeles. These two brothers are in court today, correct, Royal?
Absolutely. It's a status conference in Los Angeles Superior Court, and although that sounds kind of bland, you never know. The judge might tip his hand and indicate whether he is leaning toward releasing the brothers. There's a December 11 hearing coming up for a resentencing request, and under California law, it's pretty new law 2 years ago, any judge may resentence anybody for anything if there is evidence of rehabilitation, if he thinks their rights have been denied, or if childhood trauma might have contributed to their offense. So that really pretty much describes the Menendez brothers' case. So they're kind of optimistic. They've got celebrity lawyer Mark Garagos on their side.
Royal, does this change, I guess, maybe the understanding of the public of what life in prison without the possibility of parole actually means?
Absolutely. You know, in California in particular, but some other kind of blue states, you've seen some reforms in the law. And for example, California passed a law several years ago that said, okay, if you are convicted of murder and sent to prison without the possibility of parole, if in fact you were under 26 when you committed the crime, after serving 25 years, you have a right to go to the judge and say, I know they said I could never get out on parole, but I was under 26 and the law says I may now ask for a release. And again, rehabilitation, no indication of violent tendencies would contribute to and support their situation. Now, as you said a minute ago, I think the real key here is the public attention because of the Netflix documentary and podcast. But for that, the LA County District Attorney probably wouldn't have proceeded and gotten the ball rolling. He's the one who really has said, hey, I think they've served their debt to society, even though the judge years ago said they're never going to get out of prison.
Royal Oakes, ABC's legal analyst, live on the line with us right now from Los Angeles. Royal, it has been decades since the Menendez brothers went on trial. I'm going to take our listeners back to 1993.
Would you state your name again for the record, please?
Joseph Lyle Menendez.
Right.
Mr. Menendez, I've placed a picture up on the board. Do you recognize that photograph?
That's my dad.
You were telling us the last thing on Friday about a talk that you had with your father when you were 13 years of age. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And
I believe that you told us that you had heard some noises that made you believe that.
Okay, we kind of cut out there on that one, but remind us, Royal, walk us back through what this crime was that took place in Beverly Hills, and I believe it was 1989 that their parents were murdered.
Right. In 89, the two brothers, ages 18 and 21 at the time, shotgunned to death their parents, shooting them from behind. Why? Their story is that they had been molested, both of them, off and on throughout their entire childhood, and they threatened to reveal this. They threatened to leave the family, and they said that the dad essentially threatened to kill them. And so their argument was, well, we did it in self-defense. And, of course, that doesn't really work. You can't have vigilante justice. If everybody who had been abused or molested went out and got a shotgun, things would be in a pretty weird state. So that was their case. The juries initially were hung. They couldn't decide between manslaughter, 5 or 10 years, and murder, maybe life. And then another trial was held, and the jury unanimously found them guilty of murder, and the judge sentenced them to life without the possibility of parole. But now, with the talk about the abuse excuse, that is up for grabs, and it's very possible that either today or more likely on December 11, a big decision could be made by the judge. He could actually release them from prison.
Another layer to this, Royal, from my, if I'm remembering it properly, the brothers, after the parents had died, they weren't immediately arrested. I think there was a period of time, maybe 6 months, where they had gone out and some described it as a spending spree, purchasing Rolex watches, real estate, investing in businesses, and then what turned, and remind us what happened after that period of time.
Well, you're right. It was a spending spree, plus the Porsche and the $50,000 tennis coach. What happened was that Eric went to a therapist and confessed. And although that's supposed to be secret, the therapist felt that the boys might kill him. And so the California Supreme Court agreed that when the therapist's girlfriend revealed this to the police, that was fair game. And so they had to confess. And that's when they went to the excuse of feeling that it was a matter of self-defense, that they had to kill their parents. So just a bizarre story. You couldn't make this stuff up.
Royal, before we let you go, I guess with all of the publicity surrounding these two brothers, Eric and Lyle Menendez, it sounded like the court had to issue a raffle or did a lottery for seats in the courtroom?
Exactly. 16 seats for the public, and of course there'll be representatives of the press as well. And folks have been lining up here in Los Angeles since before dawn, trying to get to be one of the lucky 16 who will be able to be in the courtroom for the status conference. Now, the brothers will be there virtually by some sort of a video Zoom hookup, and so that's really what everybody is very interested in. We've heard their voices on the Netflix documentary. We have not seen them, however, for many years, and the people in the court, there will be no TV cameras in the court, but the people sitting in the courtroom will probably be able to see the images of the brothers from prison. Who knows if they'll speak, but they will be attending.
Royal Oakes, thank you so much for joining us, ABC legal analyst in L.A. Thanks.
I think the question of the day, Dave, was asked by you is like, does this change the public's view on what, life sentence without the possibility of parole really means? Because here we are, decades later, and they could be, if you will, paroled, let out of prison based on what's decided in these upcoming hearings.
Yeah, most certainly. How could it not? You would have to look at it and say, okay, does a sentence really mean what we think it means? Because so often, and we know this for lesser crimes, that whatever you're sentenced to, that's kind of left up to interpretation. You might get out early for good behavior. But there has been there's been less leniency when it comes to murder, and especially if that murder has been premeditated, then things can change that way. But if we see this changing in, as Royal Oak said, more blue states, more progressive and democratic states, does that change our understanding of what a sentence really means?
What about we'll get Greg Skordas on the line in just a moment to ask about what happens here in Utah. He's our legal analyst, and so he can analyze what we do here in Utah with crimes like this. And does life without parole mean life without parole here in Utah. It's the spending spree. I mean, right? In addition to killing both of their parents, to me, you add the spending spree that went on and the months that they were able to go around and spend their parents' money with buying, what did you say, Rolex watches, Dave?
Right.
And real estate. I mean, real estate, really? Investing in businesses. So there's so many layers to this, and we'll see. We'll just have to see how it plays out in Los Angeles.
Well, and I think it really brings up an important question. We have seen this happen from even high-profile killers. You'll remember the Manson murders. Leslie Van Houten was released from jail after being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And again, when we're looking at this Menendez story, the buying of the shotguns days before, shooting their parents to death with the shotguns. They picked up the expended shotgun shell casings. They had their fingerprints, and they were hiding those. So obviously it seems like they were being very deliberate in hiding this. And then they go and they bury the shotguns somewhere else afterwards. There's a lot of layers to this, and I think it changes the way we have to look at sentencing in America.
Straight ahead, let's get KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas to join the show to ask how things are done here in Utah when it comes to life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Are you looking to save on internet and mobile this holiday season? Well, good news. Xfinity's having a Black Friday sale. They have you covered with these great deals. Learn how to get your choice of 5G phone on Xfinity Plus. You can also get fast, reliable Xfinity internet and a line of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited for a great low price. So don't wait. Bring home a new 5G phone and get Wi-Fi speeds up to 1 gig on Xfinity Mobile. That's a big deal. Or should I say gig deal? Now through December 3rd, ask how to get your choice of a free 5G phone with an unlimited Plus line. Plus, get Xfinity Gigabit Internet with free Wi-Fi equipment for only $25 a month for 12 months. No annual contract when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com/Black Friday sale to learn more. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Gig speeds available via hotspots to Xfinity Mobile customers only. Reduced speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Actual internet speeds and data thresholds may vary.
For more and more Utahns, the golden years now include golden gigs.
I like playing, but I want to do something that's meaningful.
KSL's Daniel Woodruff reveals why Utah leads the way when it comes to senior side gigs. An unaffordable Utah report tonight at 10.
Feeling frustrated? Ignored? Deceived? It's time to get Gephardt. Get Gephardt, weeknights at 10 on KSL.
Don't you deserve health care you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare with Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Utah, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la. Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a bouncing trailer hitch damaged several vehicles on I-15 yesterday. Second, not your usual case of retail theft for the Macy's stores in New York, $154 million. And third, kids at Polk Elementary School in Ogden are getting an unexpected day off because of a water leak. 36 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We just got off the phone with the ABC legal analyst Royal Oakes, who's standing by live for us in Los Angeles, awaiting the hearing today for the Menendez brothers, who were convicted of killing both their parents. Murder happened in 1989, and then after that, it's said that they went on a spending spree, these two brothers did. And now they are facing the potential of being released from prison after being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
And after 30 years, we've forgotten a lot about this story, unless you've recently watched the Netflix documentary or the movie that was released or one of the many books. These two young men, 18 and 21 years old, went out and purchased shotguns a few days before they murdered their parents. They shot them. This is super graphic, so probably a little ears warning is necessary, but shot the parents multiple times with the shotguns. They left. They didn't call 911 and claim self-defense at the time. They left. Apparently, they went out to try to create an alibi. They went to a movie theater and they were going to purchase movie tickets to use the movie tickets as an alibi, but then they realized they were time-stamped, so that wouldn't work. And it wasn't until they had done some of this running around that they finally went back home. Then they called 911, and in mock surprise, they screamed to the 911 operator, "Someone killed my parents." And then they tried to pin it on a mob hit, essentially.
And that didn't work. Eventually, the law caught up to them. But you may be asking, why are we here today? I mean, why are they making a bid to even be let out of prison if their sentence was life without the possibility of parole? Or ABC legal analyst Royal Oakes explained that because there's been a recent change in the laws in California, cases can be retried if they involve childhood trauma, which is which was what the Menendez brothers had claimed.
The status conference in Los Angeles Superior Court, and although that sounds kind of bland, you never know, the judge might tip his hand and indicate whether he is leaning toward releasing the brothers. There's a December 11 hearing coming up for a resentencing request, and under California law, it's pretty new law 2 years ago, any judge may resentence anybody for anything if there is evidence of rehabilitation, if he thinks their rights have been denied, or if childhood trauma might have contributed to their offense. So that really pretty much describes the Menendez brothers' case.
I said retried. I think the appropriate word there is resentence. Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst. Good morning.
Good morning, and you're right. It is a resentencing in part because of what you've been talking about. They were sentenced to a life in prison without the possibility of parole But a couple of things have happened, not the least of which you've talked about already. They've done 30 years. They've been model prisoners. But another individual came forward and had told authorities that he had been sexually assaulted by their father, by the Menendez brothers' father, when he was a young man, which was really their defense to why they did this, because he had been molesting them. And furthermore, Eric Menendez, the older of the brothers, I believe, had written a letter when he was, before the homicide even occurred, to a friend saying, I'm scared of my father. I don't know when he's going to come down and do this again, which sort of corroborates the abuse that they had suffered, which was their defense, but it wasn't established to the satisfaction of the jury. But now there seems to be more information that would have bolstered that defense.
Greg, as I'm reading through this, it appears, according to the CBS News article that I'm reading, that the prosecutors at the time even acknowledged that if there was abuse that occurred, it still doesn't give them the right to kill their parents. So why does this change?
Right. It doesn't really change, Dave. What it changes is the possibility. So no one's arguing that they're not guilty. No one's arguing that they shouldn't do 30 years in prison. The argument is, does this change what their sentence is? Should their life without the possibility of parole be amended to allow them, because of this, some leniency in terms of their ultimate sentence? They're not going to be acquitted. They're not going to be exonerated. They're not going to be their record expunged. The issue is whether or not that life without will be commuted to something less. And it could be what typically is when you have a life sentence in California, it's 50 years. So that would mean they would do another 20. But because of their age, I think like Debbie talked about earlier, there's some law in California that allows for a little bit of leniency to people that have been abused at a young age. And so, yes, there's a possibility they could be released soon. They could be released in 20 years, or they may serve the rest of their lives in prison.
Greg, when we're talking about the leniency, does it change when it appears that it was premeditated, where they go out, they purchase the shotguns beforehand, then they murder their parents, they actually go about 6 months before they're arrested. They have this huge spending spree of buying Rolex watches, a $50,000 tennis coach that they were using, flying all over the world. Does the premeditation, how does that play into this in your mind?
I think it hurts them. I think it hurts them a lot. And another thing that we haven't talked about is they also murdered their mother. And except for some allegations that she didn't protect them from the father and that she hid what he had done and sort of didn't do what she should have done to make sure that they were safe, there really isn't much allegation that she ever molested the boy. So that's a homicide that's why the 30 years is probably sufficient, or at least the bottom line, the very minimum that they should serve. And whether or not they serve more remains to be seen. There's also been a new election. There's a new district attorney who's taking office in December, and he's asked to take a second look at the case and to not release them until he has a chance to do that. So there's all kinds of complications in this case.
KSL legal analyst Greg Scourt is on the line with us right now. We're talking about this case in Los Angeles. It made, of course, national and likely international news back in 1989 when two parents were murdered, and eventually the law caught up to their two sons, Eric and Lyle Menendez, who have been serving many years in prison after being convicted in the 90s for murdering their parents. And Greg, they were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Let's bring it home to Utah. You know, we have this indeterminate sentencing structure here where, a judge will sentence an individual to prison, but then the parole board gets to decide once they're in prison what the appropriate length of the sentence is. So do you see cases, as a former prosecutor, now a defense attorney, where somebody's sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in Utah, where they actually do end up getting paroled?
I have not seen that yet. I have not seen that. And the life without parole is only probably less than 20 years old. But we have not seen an individual in this state released from prison on a life without sentence. I think in Utah, that's very much intended to mean life in prison without the possibility of parole. And I would be surprised if we ever release someone under that sentence without some real extraordinary circumstances and information that came out after the trial that could help the person and sort of exonerate them. But no, in Utah, life without so far has meant life without the possibility of parole.
What do you make of other states that have softened on that? Obviously, as we're talking about California, we know that Leslie Van Houten, who was one of the Manson murderers, or part of the Manson family, as they went on their killing spree, she had been released as well. She's free. What do you make of the other states around and the trend maybe around the country?
Well, I think, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I've been in the criminal justice system for 42 years, but I do think people change. I do think that lives change, and I do think that everyone deserves some chance to have their sentence reexamined. And I know that doesn't help victims. It doesn't make them have any sense of comfort. But if you think about a person, Dave, that's done 30 or maybe 40 years in prison, they're an entirely different person. And maybe the system should be able to re-examine somebody at some point after their sentence.
Greg, thank you for joining us. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst.
Yeah, we'll continue to track this story throughout the day. As we talked about earlier, there's this case has garnered so much public attention. Royal Oaks, an ABC News legal analyst, is in Los Angeles. So there's a lottery for the 16 seats that are being offered to the public in that hearing. And the hearing will be remote. I mean, in terms of the Menendez brothers, they will be, Zoomed in or, teleconferenced in for this hearing live. And, of course, Jeff Kaplan, Afternoon News team, will have much more on this today when he picks up the microphone from 3 to 7.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Kids at Polk Elementary School in Ogden have the day off because of broken water line. School administrators are assessing the damage to see if the kids can return for classes. Otherwise, they'll start Thanksgiving break early. The Utah National Guard getting some of the most advanced aircraft in the world. They're getting 4 new Apache helicopters that will allow the flight crew to be safer and attack from a distance. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. At the beginning of the week that could see new records set in the travel industry, a major airport has been hit with a work stoppage. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
People who normally clean aircraft interiors between flights, escort wheelchair passengers, and empty the trash at Charlotte Douglas International Airport are off the job today.
I don't make enough to be able to pay my rent.
Airport service worker Priscilla Hoyle is among hundreds on strike for better pay.
I don't know if we're going to be able to keep a roof over our heads.
Charlotte Airport officials expect more than 1 million people to pass through in the next week, a Thanksgiving record. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is up on the day right now, 247 points, while the NASDAQ is up, but just barely. Our KSL weather, looks like we've got some sunshine here that won't last when a storm moves in tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Old Spice Swagger Holiday Pack, perfect for a gift to treat yourself.
24/7 holiday freshness with daily use can smell your bestest. I'm gonna be smelling great all season. Old Spice scents just can't be beaten. Chock full of value, saving that green. Got the essentials needed to feel clean. Deodorant, hair, body wash, and spray. Celebrate your holiday the Old Spice way. Ho 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 ho.
This year, American farmers will harvest 2.8 billion bushels of wheat and 15.1 billion bushels of corn. And to this day, American road workers have built 4.2 million miles of roads and counting. We're proud that John Deere machines rolling off the line here in the USA play a part in supporting Americans who work the land and build a better tomorrow. Nothing runs like a Deere. Learn more at johndeere.com/manufacturing.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, things are moving along very nicely across the Wasatch Front now on the major freeways like I-15, the east and west side belt routes, the 201 freeway. But if you're on Bangerter Highway trying to get to the 201 freeway, we do have your typical congestion. Mostly of that is heading northbound between 2700 South and that 201 freeway junction. Otherwise, you're going to have a good commute. No other accidents reported now on city streets or freeways. Live at the Eccles presents Gentry Christmas, 4 performances November 29th and 30th at the Eccles Theater. An unforgettable night of music, laughter, and pure Christmas joy. Tickets at liveeccles.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 47. We're expecting a substantial storm with rain and snow overnight into tomorrow, and the chance of snow will continue into Wednesday. Right now, 37 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, the holiday season can bring on a lot of things. It can bring on fun family times together, great memories, and unfortunately, in a twist you weren't expecting me to say, it can also rock your world and create angst in relationships and potentially lead to divorce.
Yeah, it's something that obviously affects so many people. About half of divorces or half of marriages end in divorce. So that it's incredibly common. It's something we don't often talk about because it can get really uncomfortable. There was something that surprised me. I didn't realize, I know divorce can be tricky and difficult. I didn't realize how long it can take.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to talk about in just a moment with divorce attorney and state senator Todd Weiler. He's live on the line with us in just a few seconds, but we're looking at this report from Motley Fool, and it was updated just a couple of months ago. So it originally came out a couple of years ago. Then they updated the numbers just a few months ago, and the cost of divorce, the average cost is $11,000. That likely doesn't include things like, what you're going to pay potentially in alimony or, other fees. But it could be based on the complexity of your case, your attorney's fees, and other factors that are. So just to unwind the marriage is $11,000. It can be less expensive. Maybe you're saying, well, I only paid, it can as low as $7,000. But to your point, Dave, it is not just about the money. It is also about the time that people are spending in court fighting each other over who gets what.
What this article says is that the average divorce process takes 12 months. So it takes a year. Why does it take so long to unwind a divorce? Especially if you're both on board. Like, yeah, let's get divorced. Why does it take 12 months?
State Senator Todd Weiler, but I know today you're wearing your cap as a divorce attorney, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when people start looking at these numbers when they come to your office in terms of how much it's going to cost them, do they have a change of heart and go to therapy instead?
Well, that's interesting because I have talked a few men out of getting filing because when I tell them what I expect that they'll pay in alimony and division of assets, including sometimes a business that they built, during the marriage, a lot of them are like, "Oh, I'll figure out a way to make it work."
We're going to figure out a way to soften some of this. I was surprised at how long it takes. Does the average divorce taking 12 months or a year, does that surprise you? Is that high or low?
It doesn't surprise me at all. So in Utah, we used to have a mandatory waiting period of 90 days after one party filed, and I actually passed some legislation in 2015 to knock that down to 30 days. But that's not the problem. The problem is it takes that long for people to decide on what they'll agree to without going to a full-blown trial. And, that often involves kids, and not just kids, but, where they're going to go to school and who's going to have final say if there's a disagreement. And it involves alimony, how much is going to be paid and how long is it going to be paid. Those are probably the two most hotly contested. But, you have people fighting over pets. I had one couple fighting over the remote control. I mean, it's just crazy what people will fight over in those situations.
The remote control better have been to a new car. I mean, what is it, television remote control?
This was a while ago, but it was to a TV. So one of them had the remote, one of them had the TV, and neither of them would give in. So that was before you could buy universal remote.
I'm sorry.
The level of pettiness that you've seen over the years.
I don't mean to laugh because I wonder if after they get through it, Todd, if they step back, maybe they're a couple years out from the divorce and they step back and they look at it and think, why was I arguing over the remote?
Yeah. Well, the good news is in Utah, we have all the forms available on court website. You can just Google Utah court forms and divorce, and about 2/3 or more of all of the divorces that are happening in Utah, there's no. And so I think that's probably what's bringing your average down. I know those are national figures you're reading, but for the people that where they both have attorneys, I think 11,000 is really low. I think it's often 2 or 3 times that amount.
Oh yeah, I've known friends who have spent a significantly more amount higher than that. But what you were saying is now people can get divorced through the court website here without involving attorneys.
You can just go on and print out the forms and bring them in. That's if you can agree on everything. But I tell people all the time, the hard part is not the logistics or the forms. The hard part is what you can agree on that goes in them, because ultimately you have to agree on everything or you have to go to trial. Those are the only really 2 options.
What are some of the things that people don't think of when it comes to divorce? Because I would imagine it extends even out into like retirement. And what are some of the things you would say, okay, hey, you've got to really pay attention to this?
Well, the rule of thumb is you split everything. So if you've got a guy who's been working and a wife who's been staying home raising the kids, the wife's going to get half of his retirement account, his 401k or IRA. A lot of guys don't realize that. If he's started a business during the marriage, she's going to get half the value of the business. That might be a tow truck company or a dental practice or, a plumber, whatever. And then half of all the furniture in the house and half of the equity in the home, half of the equity. And then there's also stuff like airline miles and timeshares and Bitcoin, and it can just go on and on.
Todd, by the way, we're speaking live right now to divorce attorney Todd Weiler. He's also a state senator, represents the Woods Cross area, and parts of Salt Lake City too, right, Todd?
Yes.
Do you see an uptick in people knocking at your door on January 2nd after the holidays looking to file?
I don't. I think it's pretty consistent year round. A lot of people are, trying to work things out, and then something happens, and they're just like, okay, well, that's the final straw. I thought I'd get a lot more calls during COVID, that, when people were forced to stay together at home and not go to their offices and hide from each other. But it's maintained pretty consistently for me over the past 5 years.
What's the main reason, or just at least anecdotally, that people decide to get divorced from your experience?
I think it's when they don't respect or appreciate or listen to the other person. I think couples can work through infidelity. They can work through a bankruptcy. I think the death of a child is really a hard one. But ultimately, a lot of people will just hang on until something big happens. And
like a deal breaker.
Sometimes that's another affair.
Like a deal breaker. They'll hang on to the next deal breaker.
Yes, yeah.
Have you ever talked people into staying married?
Yes, many a times.
What's the magic recipe for that? What's the magic conversation? How does that go?
Well, like I said, I think for a lot of men, it's realizing how financially devastating. A divorce is trying to take one sheet and make two beds, and it just doesn't work. So most people are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck with one household and two incomes. If you have two households and two incomes, or two households and one income, you're one of you or both of you is probably going to end up bankrupt unless you make some serious changes. And that's why a lot of people end up moving back in with family.
Bankruptcy. Wow.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. Todd Weiler is an attorney, does other things besides divorces, but has also done, a lot of divorces as well. So we appreciate you taking the time. Also a state senator.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks, Todd. Have a good Thanksgiving. Appreciate you joining us. Todd Weiler, state senator, divorce attorney, talking about divorce and the cost of divorce. He says he thinks it's even higher than $11,000, especially if you're both dealing with attorneys and trying to get through the process. The process takes a year. It could be even higher than that. And there are other hidden costs to divorce that really stood out to you, Dave. When we were looking up this article from Motley Fool. Should we talk about those when we come back?
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting details to this, and I'll tell you, it is, you can't go into it lightly, obviously, and I think most people don't go into divorce lightly, but boy, there's a level of detail that I guess I just hadn't really considered, quite frankly.
Let's consider it next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
When it comes to your electrical system, do you know the warning signs to look for? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's okay if you don't know, but here are a few things that you might not even realize could be a sign of a bigger problem. Wall plates that are hot to the touch, discoloration around switches or outlets, if you hear crackling or popping or buzzing around switches or outlets, a breaker that trips a lot, switches that feel loose when you operate them, if your lights dim or flicker when a major appliance comes on, if your plugs fall out of the wall easily. You're not supposed to have to bend the prongs out on a plug just to get it to stay in the wall. If you notice any of these things, you should consider having a licensed electrician check your system out. If you don't know anyone, Any Hour Services has put together a radio-only special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive electrical inspection and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. To schedule your comprehensive electrical inspection by a licensed electrician for only $29, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7300. That's 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Look, it is a super busy week for air travel. You're going to be hitting the roads for the Thanksgiving holiday. You're going to be worried about weather. The best way to get up to date information by the moment is just sign up for our free text alerts. All you have to do is text the word news. That's news to 57500. News to 57500. And as weather is happening, as traffic jams are clogging the roads, we're going to send you those news alerts at 57500. Just text the word news.
It's the Sound Warehouse Black Friday sale. Hurry in for the best selection. Save $70 on Kenwood Video Receiver, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Backup Camera Ready, $249. Save $100 on JBL Base Enclosure with 12-inch sub and 150-watt amp for only $229. Save $60 on Rockford Fosgate 500-watt one-channel amplifier, only $220. With special financing and leasing options. Warm up your ride. Remote start with module and basic installation labor, $349. Or a Mogden and Salt Lake Black Friday at the Warehouse. Sound Warehouse.
Are you suffering from constant fatigue, joint pain, or digestive issues? Do you have brain fog, anxiety, or depression? Have you seen multiple doctors and still don't have any answers? Have you been told over and over that your blood tests are normal, but you're just not feeling well? At Transformative Medicine, they use specialized testing to find the root cause of the problem and then use cutting-edge therapies to treat it. Call Transformative Medicine today at 844-TALK-2-DOC and receive a free consultation. Finally, get to the root of the problem and have the answers you've been waiting for. Don't wait to get your life back. The first 25 people to call Transformative Medicine at 844-TALK-2-DOC will receive a consultation absolutely free. That's 844-TALK, the number 2, DOC. 844-TALK-2-DOC.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a bouncing trailer hitch damaged several vehicles on I-15 yesterday. Second, not your usual case of retail theft for the Macy's stores in New York, $154 million. And third, kids at Polk Elementary School in Ogden are getting an unexpected day off because of a water leak. 36 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
There's 2 things that stood out to Dave and I in this article in Motley Fool about divorces. One is that they cost so much, and as it turns out, we just spoke to Utah divorce attorney Todd Weiler, and he said, I think the cost is even higher than that. And Motley Fool says it's between $7,000 and $11,000 to pay for the fees, whether you hire an attorney or whatever you need to get through that divorce. But Todd says it's even higher than that. And what stood out to you was something different than the cost.
Yeah, not only could it be double or triple that cost, taking it to $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 to get divorced, but how long it takes. The average divorce takes about a year to 18 months.
Here's what Todd Weiler said about kind of the hidden things that people don't think about before filing for divorce.
The rule of thumb is you split everything. So if you've got a guy who's been working and a wife who's been staying home raising the kids, the wife's going to get half of his retirement account, his 401k or IRA. A lot of guys don't realize that. If he's started a business during the marriage, she's going to get half the value of the business. That might be a tow truck company or a dental practice or, a plumber, whatever. And then half of all the furniture in the house and half of the equity in the home. And then there's also stuff like airline miles and timeshares and Bitcoin, and it can just go on and on.
Now, the paperwork itself, as he said, about 2/3 of divorces here in Utah is basically done just through some paperwork. The average filing fees, the paperwork, is $325 here in Utah. So the question is, why does it cost thousands of dollars when you get the attorneys involved? It's because you can't agree on how to split things.
He said you could do it on the court website here in Utah and keep your costs really low, but you have to agree on everything. Like, you don't necessarily need to hire an attorney if you go through the court website and just do it all online, but you have to agree on everything. And he said he's even had clients that were fighting over the remote control. And it wasn't a remote control to a small aircraft. It was a remote control to the television. As he said, it was before they invented the universal remote controls. My goodness. My goodness. But there's other hidden expenses, too, that kind of jumped out at us that I think are worth talking about. That some attorneys, Todd says he doesn't see it here, but some attorneys have reported that after the holidays, the number of people knocking at their door to ask, hey, can you represent me in a divorce, does go up in some areas. But you talk about like hiring forensic accountants. They search for assets believed to be hidden by a spouse. A forensic accountant. Yeah, that'll add up real quickly. How about this one, Dave? Refinancing your home. Or, it's to get your spouse off the home. Because if you purchase the home together and both of your names are on that home, you have to undo that. Because your spouse is going to, depending on who's leaving the home or if the home gets sold, I guess, that's another expense. But you got to get their name off of the deed so they can go buy a home.
Well, and that's such a great example of why divorces can be so complicated, because you're going to split the equity of the house. So let's say you have a $500,000 home and you've paid off $300,000. Are you just refinancing? Are you going to split it right down the middle? Who stays? And then do you agree that, okay, well, I'm not moving out. This home in 10 years is going to be now worth $1 million. You're negotiating all of these things. And what you think is fair, your ex may not think is fair. So you're constantly trying to negotiate that, which is why it may sound real easy. Oh, we just split everything in half. But what does that mean to each person? It could mean something different.
Go on and print out the forms and bring them in. That's if you can agree on everything. But I tell people all the time, the hard part is not the logistics or the forms. The hard part is what you can agree on that goes in them, because ultimately you have to agree on everything or you have to go to trial. Those are the only really two options.
You have to agree on everything. Even if you do the kind of the low-cost DIY divorce online, you have to agree on everything, or you end up having to get lawyers involved.
Well, this forensic accountant is something that really stood out to me because I think we don't have a really good understanding, because we're not experts in all things. Do you have a really good understanding of what your home's worth, what your cars are worth, what your retirement is worth, what your future pension is worth? All of these things. Let's say you have an expensive stamp collection, or you've hoarded coins or gold in the backyard, whatever. You have to make sure that you have a full accounting before you actually are able to move forward on the divorce.
If you're hiring a forensic accountant, and I'm not saying they're they are probably worth it. What's somebody hiding from you? You know what I mean? Like, if you're getting into the forensic accounting aspect of a divorce, what's the trust level there, and because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for hidden accounts that your spouse hasn't shared with you.
Or let's say you have a business. Are you really? Do you have a really good understanding of what that business is worth?
Yeah, there's just so many layers to this. I think that need to go into, especially if it's going to be a messy divorce, and the amount of time and the family therapy that it costs, and they even break it down to the cost of family therapy. Rates are typically between $75 to $200 per session. So if you got to put your family through therapy or your kids through therapy, but by the way, this or not, I have no shame whatsoever in telling you I go to therapy on a regular basis. And I think that is something that, if you're considering, or you're on the edge of, maybe considering for divorce, try therapy if it works for you. I mean, if it works for you, try therapy. I think there was a stigma to therapy many, many, many years ago. I'm not quite sure my generation is totally past that stigma. I think there was a stigma that maybe if you go to therapy, you're weak and you need help holding it together. Yeah, we do need help. We need help and guidance. We need to understand, this is a bond that has so many different layers to it. There's love. There's also financial commitment. There's trust. And I think working through differences through therapy to start before heading to a divorce lawyer is just a smart move.
One thing that I've never really considered or thought about is therapy when things are going fine.
I have an anecdote for that. Can I add it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a friend who does that. Everything's fine, but they go to therapy on a regular basis to just do a check-in, to see how things are going for each person. 'Cause so often we don't want to say, hey, because we don't want to rock the boat. Maybe this isn't going well for me. They go to therapy on the regular, and it's not like once a week or anything, but it's a couple times a year, just to do a check-in with each other to see how they can work through their differences.
I could see great value in that. Like, very logically, this is logical, Dave, going, this would be great to have a mediator, somebody that could say, hey, I notice you're going down this path. This is why it may not be successful for you, or maybe you can communicate better. But I'm trying to think of how that conversation would actually go if I told my wife, hey, we ought to start going to marriage therapy. And how does that not send off all the warning signs and the whistles like, no, it's fine. Everything's great. This is preventative. How do you sell that? Because I would think that would just send up all the warning bells. Even as pure as your heart may be, I don't know how that conversation goes over well.
Well, why don't you try it and report back to us? Let us know how it goes.
Hey, honey, Deb said we should go to therapy.
No. At least try it, because I like that, Dave. That approach that you go to therapy when things are good, not when things are hitting the wall.
Yeah.
In addition to when things are
so they don't hit the wall.
There
right.
you go. Yeah. All right.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. About 250 families invited to pick up food for Thanksgiving. Much of the donated food came from Utah Jazz player Jordan Clarkson. KSL TV's Alex Cabrero was there.
Clarkson knows and remembers what it's like to need.
I've been in the shoes of everybody that's walking this building. And as a family, we give back as part of that's just part of the cycle of life, man.
No one should ever have to go hungry, especially for the holidays.
We're really thankful for all of this. A lot of parents are very thankful. Trust me, and it means a lot.
And Clarkson is part of the J.C. Cares Foundation. He says they want to keep the joy and vibes going. Utah Jazz earned the team's fourth win of the season, beating the New York Knicks by 15 points on Saturday, the biggest margin of victory this year for the Jazz. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A DHL cargo plane had to make a crash landing in Lithuania. Officials at the airport in the capital city of Vilnius says the plane skidded off the runway and hit a house. There were 4 people on board. 1 person died. Packages have exploded aboard 2 other DHL planes in Germany and in the UK this year. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 314 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up 29. And our KSL weather. We've got some sunshine today, but tomorrow it's all storm. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
When I was looking for specialized care for my mom, it was super important for me to find a safe place for her that would feel like home. And that's exactly what you will find at the Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care in Bountiful. The new owners and management take pride in hiring people who are going to provide the best care, whether it be for those in assisted living or those who require specialized memory care. Their super caregivers are committed to delivering wow experiences through their compassion and positive interactions. In this newly remodeled community, they've also created wow experiences with so many special spaces like an art room, library, and theater room. Plus, they have added beautiful windows that make the common rooms feel light and spacious. It's a place the whole family will like to visit to enjoy the incredible family game room or to sit together by one of the fire pits. The Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care at 1150 South Main Street in Bountiful, where compassion and care come first. Find out more at thebeaumontassistedliving.com.
Old Spice Swagger Holiday Pack, perfect for a gift to treat yourself 24/7 holiday freshness with daily use can smell your bestest. I'm gonna be smelling great all season. Old Spice scents just can't be beaten. Chock full of value, saving that green. Got the essentials needed to feel clean. Deodorant, hair, body wash, and spray. Celebrate your holiday the Old Spice way.
Ho, 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 ho.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a disabled semi on I-15. This is northbound at 90th South in Sandy. The right lane and shoulder are blocked, but there's not a whole lot of traffic right now, so it's really not causing delays. You still have several lanes to the left available to you as you go through the Sandy area. Everybody else is still also moving at freeway speed. Southbound I-15 from Ogden to Salt Lake, less than 30 minutes. No problems coming out of Tooele County on I-80 or the 201 freeway. Attention, busy moms, weekend warriors, athletes, and you. Get hydration that makes you feel great. Delicious taste with zero sugar. Meet Redmond Relight. Clean hydration with multiple grab-and-go flavor options. Available online or Harmon's. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today, high 47. We're expecting a substantial storm with rain and snow overnight into tomorrow. The chance of snow will continue into Wednesday. Right now, 39 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We know we're not only heading into the holiday season, we are heading into shopping season. And we're going to talk right now about how not to get stung this week and the weeks ahead by a store's deferred interest offer. So when you're out there Black Friday shopping and the sales clerk says, hey, we're going to sign you up now for this credit card and you don't have to pay interest on it for 12 to 18 months, it's going to sound like a really great option. But wait, there's more.
As long as you don't get bitten by it, it is a great option. It seems that way to me. I've done the deferred interest before with some larger purchase. Mm-hmm. I say larger. I think I did it with a washer and dryer or a refrigerator, something along those lines. And I was pretty young when we were first doing it. So when they were walking us through, I'm like, wait a sec. Explain that to me again. And it is. As long as you make the payments and you pay it off on time, it's great.
So deferred interest does not mean deferred payments.
Right.
So let's say you put an item that's $1,000 on a deferred interest plan. And I think there's some confusion with this. It doesn't mean you don't pay anything for 12 to 18 months or whatever that deferred interest period is. It means you make the monthly payments, but what doesn't accrue is interest. And now interest is pretty high. It can be 20 or 25% sometimes, maybe even 30%. So these deferred interest offers may sound pretty awesome in the moment, but there are some pitfalls. Wallet Hub writer and analyst Chip Lupo live on the line. Happy early Thanksgiving, Chip.
Happy early Thanksgiving to you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate having me on.
Well, I'm glad to talk about this because I think in the moment when we're making these big financial decisions in a checkout line as to whether we're going to open a credit card or we're going to go with a deferred interest plan, that is not the time to start trying to read through the fine print. So let's talk about the fine print right now.
Right. Yeah, you're right. This is not a time to make these knee-jerk decisions when it comes to holiday spending and it's easy to do because nowadays people have less disposable income. So the idea of maybe some sort of a buy now, pay later program where you're just paying a little bit at a time can seem pretty enticing. But in fact, as you had mentioned at the very beginning, it's a pretty good deal if you make the payments and pay it off on time.
So walk us through what happens if you don't make everything paid off in that, let's say it's a 12-month deferred interest. What are some of the downsides here?
Well, the biggest downside, so let's just say if you make a purchase, and I think you had mentioned purchasing appliances, things like that.
Yeah.
You make the purchase, spread it out over 12 months. Now, you've heard the saying, day late and a dollar short. If you are either of those at the end of the promotional period, which again could range from 6 months, 36 months or more, usually depending on how much you spend, what's going to happen is that all of that interest that was deferred is going to be piled on to your amount dating back from the original purchase date. So all that interest that is accrued over 18 months or however long is going to be added back
in. So Chip, walk us through that. Let's say it's 30% interest, but you've deferred it on a couple of $1,000, and then you're a day late and a dollar short. It could be hundreds of dollars tacked on to that credit card bill because you came up short.
Or more, correct. You're absolutely correct. Now, of course, that's not going to go away. I mean, and it's going to keep piling on until you pay off that balance.
So the interest would accrue interest?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yes, that balance is going to accrue that interest. And as you mentioned, it's not a low interest rate. And they're not going to tell you that. You have to really dig into the fine print and look for it.
Are they typically, I guess, what is a typical deferred interest payment? Are we talking the 15s, 20s, or as Debbie said, worst case scenario, 30?
Well, interest rates, probably in the upper 20s, probably close to almost 30%.
Oh, man.
And then, Chip, let's say I'm bebopping along through 2025, and life is just so glorious for me that I forget to make a payment on this deferred interest plan. Just by accident. Oops, just missed 1 month's payment by a couple of days. What could potentially, what's the downside of that for me?
In most cases, and again, this is why it's very important to read the fine print, because in those terms, they will tell you if you miss a payment or if you fail to make the minimum payment, you could wind up canceling.
So basically, it's the agreement is a wash. It's done potentially.
It's done. So then you'll owe whatever all the interest that's accumulated on what's left of that purchase amount. Again, going back to the original purchase date. Now, again, that varies from depending on the plan, but that's generally the rule. If you miss a payment, if you violate any of the terms of your agreement, again, can't emphasize this enough. Read the fine print and ask questions. I think you had mentioned you were asking this rep several questions, like what about this and this and this.
Yeah.
Ask questions, and if they get a little cagey, or if they're evading the question, or if they're not giving a straight answer, it's probably a good idea just to walk away.
Chip, thank you so much for joining us. Chip Lupo from Wallet Hub is a writer and analyst there.
Super good advice. I would say this when I ask questions, and I think that is a great piece of advice. But when I've asked questions of some of the cashiers at these stores, they don't have all the answers. They have the pitch line memorized, but they don't have the answers. So I always say no in the moment. I didn't used to. But I learned lessons. I didn't used to always say no to these credit cards or these special deferred interest offers in the moment. But I usually take the brochure. I do say, hey, give me the brochure and I'll look at it later. But look, I mean, these are some pitfalls that you need to be absolutely aware of. And you cannot possibly know all of this when you got a line of 500 people behind you at 4 a.m. at the Black Friday sale, and you're holding up the line because you're trying to figure out if you want to do this program or not.
And just to paint this picture, when we're talking about that deferred interest, let's say it is 30%. On a $2,000 purchase, if you are $1 late or $1 short or a day late, then all of a sudden you're going to spend somewhere around $600 in back interest. If you are 1 day late, say you pay off $1,999 of those dollars, but you are $1 late or short and 1 day late. then you're going to pay an additional $600 with all that interest.
But that's not even the whole picture, because we just talked with Chip, and he said you're going to pay interest on the interest. So that $600 is going to be tacked onto the bill, and then you're going to pay interest on that interest. It's just
it feels
wild.
So good on so many levels. But that being said,
yeah.
If you can do it, and whether it's automatic payments, automatic withdrawals, you have a payment plan and you can figure it out, well, then all of a sudden you are getting an interest-free loan for 12, 18, 36 months, whatever it might be. That's a slam dunk deal if you can work the system.
And I'm not saying don't ever do it. I'm just suggesting that you understand that these are some of the concerns or the pitfalls that could come your way if you're a day late and $1 short. And I love how Chip put that, a day late and $1 short. It can make for some messy interest at the end of the deferred interest plan. I want to take live phone calls. Let's take live phone calls. I wonder if anybody's ever been stung by deferred interest, because you know who has been? Yours truly.
Oh, have you? See, I actually have a story of where it worked. So this is seldom the case where I'm the good example and you're the bad example.
I was so bitter. I was so bitter when I got stung by the deferred interest plan. And you know what? After talking to Chip, I just had a revelation, because this was decades ago. I think it was my fault. 801-575-TALK. Have you ever been stung by deferred interest? Let's take your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Looking for the perfect gift or special treat to share? Whether it's for family, friends, clients, or even yourself, Western Nut has everything you need to make the season bright. Locally roasted, lovingly packaged, and filled with holiday cheer, every bite is a celebration. When you step through our doors, the holidays come alive. The aroma of freshly roasted nuts, the sparkle of festive decor, and the charming tunes of our music box make your visit unforgettable. From the finest nuts and brittles to creamy caramels, unique gifts, and stunning holiday decorations, at Western Nut Company, we've got something for everyone. Can't make it downtown? Visit us online at westernut.com. Create joy, share memories, and savor the season with Western Nut Company, your holiday destination for all things delicious and delightful.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Myth. You might have heard that you need to spend a fortune these days to get a powerful computer. Correction. At PC Laptops, we wanted to prove that wrong. So here's the most amazing deal that we've ever done at PC Laptops for you in over 30 years. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Take one home today. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
At Macy's, our famous Kong Cone is here to add a sweet chill to your autumn adventures. Whether you're crunching through leaves or cozying up with family, this towering cone of creamy goodness is the perfect fall companion. Stop by Macy's today and grab a famous Kong Cone, because fall is cool, and your treat should be too. Macy's. Happy shopping!
For more and more Utahns, the golden years now include golden gigs.
I like playing, but I want to do something that's meaningful.
KSL's Daniel Woodruff reveals why Utah leads the way when it comes to senior side gigs. An unaffordable Utah report, tonight at 10.
Feeling frustrated? Ignored? Deceived? It's time to get Gephardt. Get Gephardt. Weeknights at 10 on KSL.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
An airliner takes off from the Pacific Northwest, carrying 101 passengers and crew. Most aboard Flight 293 are active-duty military and their families, headed to Cold War assignments in Alaska.
Surveillance of the Soviet military buildup.
But somewhere over the ocean, with no distress call, the airliner plunges into the icy water below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, that aircraft would fly.
There were no survivors and no bodies were ever recovered. For decades, loved ones were left to wonder
what happened to Flight 293 and why hasn't there been any follow-up.
The government turned its back. Passengers and crew of Flight 293 were forgotten by everyone, except their families.
Unless we pursue it, we will never be issued a true explanation.
Unsolved Histories, What Happened to Flight 293 is available now. Follow us at unsolvedhistoriespod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
A team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg. Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz helped hundreds of families with holiday food donations. Second, a DHL cargo plane had to make a crash landing in Lithuania. 4 people there were injured, 1 killed. And third, a mini moon that's been circling the Earth is slipping into an orbit around the sun now. 39 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
In a lot of cases, a deferred interest payment plan may be the perfect scenario for your purchase. But in some cases, there may be some pitfalls that are looming. We just spoke to Chip Lupo, of an analyst with Wallet Hub, and he gave us these warnings.
In most cases, and again, this is why it's very important to read the fine print, because in those terms, they will tell you if you miss a payment or if you fail to make the minimum payment, you could wind up canceling. So then you'll owe whatever, all the interest that's accumulated on what's left of that purchase amount, again, going back to the original purchase date.
Yeah, going back to the original purchase date, the entirety of the loan, that's what it is. I mean, that is stinging. But if you can use it, if you can work the system, then it's a great deal. It's an interest-free loan.
So in the 90s, I got stung. And it turns out, after talking to Chip, after all of these years of being bitter, I realized I stung myself on a deferred interest payment plan. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But we asked for your live phone calls. And Camille, I couldn't wait to get to your call because our producer, Caitlin, said you had an experience with a root canal payment plan.
Yeah. Well, I needed a root canal, and I didn't have any dental insurance. I was a single mom and limited income, but I was in a lot of pain. So I run to my dentist and ask him if there's anything they could help me with payment plans or anything. And they said, well, the only thing we offer is this Care Credit card, and you don't have to pay any interest for a year. And I just needed it done. I didn't even ask questions. I quickly signed away for the card. And so I was getting the bill for the year, paying off the minimum payment, and I thought I was doing really good and paid off maybe $1,000. And then I get a bill after the year, and then it showed like I only paid $45 off of the amount. And I was so upset when I found out, and I went over But yeah, so that's my story. with the
Did you miss something in the fine print, Camille?
Well, I didn't even care about the fine print
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
I just needed the root canal, and they said the only thing they had available.
Lessons learned. I hope your tooth was better after that. That can be painful. Hi, David.
How are we doing?
Good. Did you have a deferred interest learning lesson?
We did. We bought an item for 18 months, no interest. It was about $2,000. We had it paid down to about $1,800. At about 16 months, my wife found something else, and we went and bought another item from the store on the card. We went back a month later and paid off the original $2,000. They don't apply that money to the $2,000. They apply it to the item you just bought.
Oh, wow.
Therefore, you get 8 for the interest because you have to zero balance the card before the 18 months, or you still get that interest because according to them, you never paid it off.
Okay, well, there you go. Another lesson learned. David, thanks for sharing your story. Katie in Salt Lake City, have you been stung by a deferred plan you signed up for?
I have, and my story is actually very similar to the first caller. Mine was also a dental situation. I don't have dental insurance, so I did sign up for that care credit as well, and was told if I made the minimum payment, I would be able to pay it off in about like a year. So I did that, and one day I looked at the balance and I saw like this interest charge for like $1,600. And I just panicked because, like you were saying, then there's interest upon interest. So what ended up happening for me is my parents had to front the bill, and now I'm paying them back. But if it wasn't for them, I would not be able to afford that.
Oh, boy. Thank you so much for these stories. And what I'm realizing is there is deferred interest plans all over the place, from dental work, or root canal. I had no idea there was a deferred interest payment plan there. Obviously, if you're making a purchase at a big box store, some of those have deferred interest payment plans as well. Let me share you a little bit of my own personal experience at the time that it worked great. I knew about deferred interest. I knew how the program worked. They described it to me. I think it was 12 months. And what it did, because I knew it was such a punitive thing at the end of 12 months, I was as good at paying it off religiously. I was paying it off every single month because I knew it was going to be such bad news if I was a day late and $1 short, that this deferred interest payment actually helped me stay on plan.
We got some breaking news, Dave, as you were talking. CNN, also ABC News, reporting that special counsel Jack Smith saying today that he will be dropping his election subversion case. This is the January 6th case involving President-elect Donald Trump, and apparently seeking the actual dismissal of the case, according to CNN, in a court filing with the judge who's over that case. So this, now I read in another article that what they are citing is the Justice Department's long-standing position that they don't seek prosecution against sitting presidents.
And part of what I think I was looking for is if this was expected, right? As soon as Donald Trump won the election, we knew that there wasn't going to be the pursue. They weren't going to pursue this, as he was, in office. The question was, would they put a pin in it? Would they wait till he gets out of office and then revisit it once his term ends? But it sounds like he is just dropping it altogether.
So here's what CNN is reporting from the 6-page filing. The Justice Department's position is that the Constitution requires that this case be dismissed before the defendant is inaugurated. That's according to what Jack Smith wrote in the filing that was filed today, and goes on to say this outcome is not based on the merits or the strength of the case against the defendant. So Jack Smith moving, it seems just moments ago, to file in court a request to dismiss the January 6th case, the election subversion case against former president and now President-elect Donald Trump. And Dave, I'm looking through the filing right now. Let me see if I can find anything in it. It's 6 pages long. And as always, these are fine print, which are so interesting to try to read on a Monday morning. But
we'll keep looking at this as we have just learned that Jack Smith, who was the special prosecutor, has special counsel, has decided to move to dismiss the election interference case against President-elect Donald Trump. Says the Justice Department policy bars the prosecution of a sitting president, according to ABC News. This is something that we did expect, and it has absolutely happened. Special counsel has moved to dismiss the election interference case against Trump.
Straight ahead, we've got much more to talk about. And by the way, our newsroom continuing to gather details on this. I'm sure reading through this 6-page filing as well. They'll have updates for you at the bottom of the hour in just a few minutes on this latest move by the Justice Department to what's the word I'm looking for, Dave? Dismiss the case.
Yeah, dismiss the case. Yeah, Trump last year, he pleaded not guilty to these federal charges. The undertaking was considered a criminal scheme to overturn the election of the 2020 election. The Justice Department had been claimed or had been investigating this, and now it looks like Jack Smith is dropping this election interference case.
Okay, in a few moments, we'll get right over to the newsroom. They can bring you the latest on that dismissal or the request for the dismissal. And straight ahead, we know it is a super busy week out at the airport this week and on the roads. But next, we're going to tackle the TSA aspect of your weekend or Thanksgiving travel. What not to put in your carry-on. They came out with a list of what not to put in your carry-on. So we're going to give you the list next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top story this hour, and we have breaking news. The special counsel appointed by the Attorney General to investigate President Trump's involvement in the 2020 election interference is moving now to dismiss that case. President Trump, of course, or former President Trump, won re-election in the 2020 election, and this dismissal of the case had been expected by many people.
The male grabbed and brandished.
A man is dead after he was shot at by police at a home near 1000 North in Ogden yesterday. Police say they were called to the home to help keep the peace while a woman removed belongings. Ogden Police Chief Jacob Suby tells KSL-TV the woman's 45-year-old estranged husband confronted them and grabbed a gun.
The male grabbed and brandished a firearm. One of the officers on scene fired his duty weapon, striking the suspect.
The officer who fired his weapon now on leave. Suby says they hope to have more information to share in the next couple of days. What scientists have called Earth's mini-moon will be leaving its orbit. Here's KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
The mini-moon has been around for the past 2 months, and scientists think it may be part of our actual moon. Scientists say it seems like it could be a boulder that was blasted off the moon by an asteroid and has just been hanging around. Once it gets pulled away by the sun today, it won't come back until 2055. And it won't stick around. It'll just take a quick partial lap around the planet. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is up on the day right now, 346 points. The NASDAQ is up 40. And coming up, it looks like we've got a little sunshine here before a storm moves in tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Cindy Olsen here for Dave's Bernina's huge Black Friday week sale at their Provo and St. George stores, featuring 1.99% up to 60 months financing on certain models. Burnett sewing machine start at only $249. Buy the Bernina B700E for only $2,999. Save $2,000. The Bernina 735 is discounted and includes thousands of dollars of free accessories while supplies last. How about a free embroidery module if you purchase a B570 QE or B770 QE Plus? Black Friday weekend doorbuster specials, $99 walking feet for the first 10 customers, incredible accessory deals, and a limited supply of Bernina 3, 4, 5, and 7 series machines. Offered at prices too low to mention. Fantastic bargains on trade-in machines and Q20 quilters. Black Friday week at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Right now, it's a quiet drive in progress. No accidents, no delays. However, there does seem to be a higher volume of traffic on many of your Salt Lake County freeways, including I-15 in Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah counties. So some busy traffic, but no problems. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 47. Then we're expecting a substantial storm with rain and snow overnight into tomorrow. The chance of snow continues into Wednesday. 39 degrees and mostly cloudy right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Tracking this developing story that we just broke moments ago here on KSL News Radio, and that is Special Counsel Jack Smith making a motion formally in the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. to dismiss the case, and it says government's motion to dismiss regarding the January 6th case against Donald Trump. They've cited the reason why he moved to make this dismissal. The department and the country have never been faced with the circumstance here, which he writes in this motion to dismiss, where a federal indictment against a private citizen has been returned by a grand jury and a criminal prosecution is already underway where the defendant is elected president. And he says, confronted with this unprecedented situation, the special counsel's office consulted with the department's Office of Legal Counsel, whose interpretation of the constitutional questions, such as those raised here, is binding on department prosecutors.
Special counsel Jack Smith was looking into two. He had two federal charges. One regarding January 6th and overturning the election, what he called a scheme to overturn the election. And two was that top secret documents case, the boxes of top secret documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. He was also looking into that. We don't know if that one is being tossed out as well. We've seen some reports that say both are being tossed out. Joining us right now is KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Greg, I can't say this is totally shocking, but it does seem, at least in the January 6th case, it is official.
Yeah, and I'm not – I guess I'm a little bit surprised that it's just being dismissed. He had already indicated, Dave, this is Jack Smith, special counsel,
the special prosecutor on both the January 6th insurrection case and the Mar-a-Lago classified document case that he was not going to proceed with those because the Department of Justice does have a policy that they don't proceed criminally against a sitting president. But I was a little surprised that he's dismissing them outright, although I guess the alternative is that he just doesn't proceed with them and they sort of languish for 4 years while Donald Trump serves his presidency. So maybe that was the more sensible approach.
Well, and he also writes in this motion that prohibition is categorical and does not turn on the gravity of the crimes charged, the strength of the government's proof, or the merits of the prosecution, which the government stands fully behind. So he's doubling down, saying, he felt they had the evidence to pursue the prosecution, that the case itself had merits. But it seems as though, from my initial read of this motion, Greg, is that they're dismissing it because this nation has a long-standing approach to not prosecuting sitting presidents.
You're exactly right. And he was careful to say it's not because it's not a good case. It's not because we don't have the evidence to convict this defendant. It's because he's the president-elect of the United States, and it doesn't do anybody any good to prosecute that person because it would just disrupt the country in ways that are just almost unimaginable.
But, Greg, couldn't he have just put a pin in it and said, we are not going to address this, we're not going to talk about it and pursue it for the 4 years remaining in President Trump's term, but we will readdress it? I guess my question would be, if it was really as bad and as awful as it had been, described, can it just be allowed to run out the clock? It seems that these two things are at odds.
And I agree with you 100%.
I think part of the problem, Dave, is Trump's about to assume the presidency. He's going to appoint, and he has appointed at least a nominee to be his next attorney general. That person is absolutely not going to prosecute this case and is probably going to dismiss it themselves. It also is undetermined whether Trump can or would pardon himself. It's a federal case, and he can issue pardons on federal cases. So I think Jack Smith could see the writing on the wall, and there was almost no chance this case was ever going to proceed to trial or to court in any way because of Trump's election.
Does this close the door for it being readdressed after Trump leaves office? Can they bring this back?
Can and will, I guess, are two different things. It'd be difficult because the statute of limitations now, that period starts running again once the case is dismissed, and there may be a problem there. I also think at some point there's really no reason to do it. I mean, once they make the decision to not proceed with a case, the Justice Department doesn't just say, okay, times have changed, let's go file another charge after they've been through all that they've been through already. So to me, Dave, and I may be wrong, we'll decide in 4 years, these cases are over, these two federal cases.
So let's just get a little bit in the weeds here with the legal lingo, Greg. And at the end of the 6 pages, Jack Smith says, for the foregoing reasons, the government respectfully moves under federal rule of criminal procedure for the dismissal without prejudice of the superseding indictment. What does the without prejudice in that sentence mean?
So that's kind of what Dave just talks about. Could it be brought up again? Without prejudice means it can be brought up again legally. Prejudice is like jeopardy. It's like, hey, you can't ever bring this again. Certainly jeopardy didn't attach. There's no double jeopardy. And what they're saying is we may revisit this case. We don't want to close the door for any future prosecutor down the road. I don't know that they could have dismissed it with prejudice anyway, legally under the federal rules. But yeah, what he's saying is it's dismissed for now.
So far, what we're talking about is the January 6th federal case that Jack Smith was bringing against him. But I haven't seen anything so far on the top secret records that were found at Mar-a-Lago. Would you assume the exact same reasoning, the exact same ruling would apply to that? It just maybe hasn't broken in the news yet?
Yes. Yes, I think that we'll see that shortly, probably this week, since this one went on such a fast track.
But this does not impact the state cases that he's facing. One in, of course, convicted in New York, in the state of New York, in state court, and also a pending case in Georgia, right?
That's right. The U.S. Attorney's Office has no jurisdiction to do anything on those cases. The Manhattan district attorney is what is deciding what's going to happen on the New York case, and of course he's convicted of that. The sentencing is the only thing left, and the Georgia district attorney still has the election interference case down there. She's sort of bungled that case by having an inappropriate relationship with her special prosecutor, so that case has been on hold. I don't know what's going to happen with that one, or whether it's just been so badly messed up that that district attorney decides not to pursue it either.
So then on our watch list, if you will, we got the case in New York, in the state of New York, in state court there, and then we're going to be watching for what goes on in the secret documents case, which is a federal case that Jack Smith does have jurisdiction over, and in his fact pursued a prosecution against the President-elect Trump.
Right, but I just don't see him making inconsistent decisions on those two cases. Once he makes the decision to toss the January 6th insurrection case, there's probably no reason for him to pursue the classified documents case in Florida.
It may just be a matter of time, and we'll keep an eye on that. Greg, thank you so much for jumping on the line with us. Greg Skordas, our legal analyst here at KSL.
So those were the federal cases against Trump. As you mentioned, the two state cases, the New York hush money case involving Stormy Daniels. That one still stands. Obviously, that's been up for appeal, or that's being appealed right now. And then the Georgia case, that was from the phone call between Trump and I think it was the Secretary of State, Brent Raffensperger, where he said, find me the 11,420 votes, that I need. That case is, as Greg had mentioned, had been bungled by the district attorney, and we are still waiting to see what happens if that moves forward as well.
You can count on Greg for more insights and analysis on this latest development this afternoon when he co-hosts Inside Sources from 1 to 3.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Are you looking to save on internet and mobile this holiday season? Well, good news. Xfinity's having a Black Friday sale. They have you covered with these great deals. Learn how to get your choice of 5G phone on Xfinity Plus. You can also get fast, reliable Xfinity internet and a line of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited for a great low price. So don't wait. Bring home a new 5G phone and get Wi-Fi speeds up to 1 gig on Xfinity Mobile. That's a big deal. Or should I say gig deal? Now through December 3rd, ask how to get your choice of a free 5G phone with an unlimited Plus line. Plus, get Xfinity Gigabit Internet with free Wi-Fi equipment for only $25 a month for 12 months. No annual contract when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com/Black Friday sale to learn more. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Gig speeds available via hotspots to Xfinity Mobile customers only. Reduced speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Actual internet speeds and data thresholds may vary.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Hearing about online threats every day can be stressful. McAfee Total Protection is here to help you live a worry-free life online. What does worry-free mean? You won't have to wonder if that text message is a scam, if new threats will pop up on your PC, or if you're safe from identity theft. Visit McAfee.com/online protection today to get up to 79% off award-winning online protection. Act fast. This Black Friday Cyber Monday deal won't last. Offer ends 12/4/24. That's McAfee.com/online protection. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
Attention pet parents. Tired of being a doorman to your furry friends? Say hello to Utah's own Pet Door Products. Your ticket to convenience and freedom. Visit PetDoorProducts.com. That's PetDoorProducts.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. OptConnect's mission is to help simplify the design, deployment, and management of cellular connectivity solutions. No matter the cellular connectivity challenge, OptConnect is here to offer a solution. President and CEO Chris Baird joins us with more.
The next time you walk into your local convenience or grocery store, take a look at the kiosks around you. The ATMs, DVD rentals, coin counters, key cutting machines, even the vending machines. Each one likely has a little black antenna on top. That's what we do. OptConnect keeps over 1 million of these types of devices connected with cellular connectivity, allowing them to work seamlessly for you. It all started 15 years ago with a simple idea, connecting ATMs to the internet through cellular routers. Today, OptConnect is one of the most trusted names in managed connectivity. We offer fully managed services, semi-managed options, embedded solutions, data plans, and much more, always backed by our passionate team. Our journey has expanded globally too, with the acquisition of Premier Wireless Solutions, M2M Data Global in Chile, and Capestone in Europe. OptConnect's reach is now stronger than ever. Whatever your thing, trust OptConnect to keep it connected.
With awards like the ATM Industry Association's Outstanding Service Award, Utah Business's Best Company to Work For, and Inc.'s Power Partner Award, OptConnect has shown that it is a powerhouse in the connectivity solutions industry. To learn more, visit their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Jack Smith, the special counsel appointed to investigate charges of election interference against former President Trump, has asked a federal court now to dismiss those charges. Second, President-elect Trump has chosen a former Florida congressman who's been skeptical of vaccines to head up the Centers for Disease Control. And third, an Ogden police officer shot and killed a man on Sunday as police were trying to protect a woman retrieving her belongings. 39 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
It's going to be so busy at the airport. People flying out, flying to see family. In fact, their TSA is projecting there's going to be like 18 million travelers between tomorrow and next Monday. And so this is your D2 PSA to seamlessly get through the TSA checkpoint at the airport.
Yeah, TSA, it's kind of wild when I think back of some of the things. I've got to tell you this story. I'll tell you it in a little bit. But the things that we used to be able to take on planes, and now it's like, oh, is that more than 1.5 ounces? No, you cannot take your shampoo that is a 2-ounce bottle. I don't even know what it is right now. Is it 2?
No,
is it 3 ounces? Can't remember.
It's 3.4 ounces.
3.4 ounces, that's what you can have.
That's the carry-on liquid.
3.5 is where it becomes truly dangerous.
Yeah. So here's some of the things not to do, and you and I both have stories. Your story turned out well because it was probably pre 9/11.
Yeah, that's the key. Everything had to happen pre 9/11.
But I had something happen to me post 9/11. I felt like the walls were closing in on me at the TSA checkpoint. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We'll get into some details on that. It turned out it was actually kind of funny after I got over the trauma of it all. But remember earlier this year, you and I were talking about the American tourists who'd flown over from, states, here in the United States over to the Caribbean island of Turks and Caicos. And some of them had forgotten and mistakenly left bullets inside their luggage. And so when they were trying to get back to the United States, they got stuck and they got caught and they got, they were facing some pretty serious time in prison.
I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. This was a complete innocent mistake. Like, I had no idea that they were in there.
Okay, so the first tip the TSA offers in this PSA is make sure the bag you're starting with is totally empty.
Yeah. Empty all the pockets, feel around, make sure there is nothing in there when you're starting, because when they found that ammunition from Americans, Turks and Caicos had a 12-year minimum sentence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was supposed to be. Now, these Americans ended up paying thousands and thousands of dollars in fines, and they got away from the 12-year minimum sentence, but they spent thousands of dollars in fines.
So I would say use a lifeline in this case. Like, you check your bag and then have your spouse check the bag, bring the neighbors in, check the bag, tip the bag upside down.
Run it through your personal x-ray machine. Whatever it takes, you got to make sure that bad boy is empty.
Yeah. Okay, so carry-on liquid restrictions, 3.4 ounces or less. That's not a very big bottle. So this comes up during the holidays a lot because you want to take your homemade gravy with you to Aunt Betty's house in Oklahoma.
3 ounces at
to
a
go
time.
with the fried frog legs. Yeah, it's just how it is, right? So you have to put the homemade gravy in your checked bag. Don't try to put it in your carry-on bag. I make awesome cranberry sauce. I would never try to transport it across, the land and sea.
Your state
I
line.
would just make it when I get there. But that also should go in your checked bag. Anything you're taking in terms of like alcohol, like wine, same thing. Jams and preserves. Back in the day, I made a pretty mean peach jam. These days, then I could probably get it on the plane because that was way before 9/11. These days, I need to put it in my checked bag if I'm taking it to Grandma's house to serve up on Thanksgiving. So there's things to think about before you just load up your carry-on bag with all of your goodies. The other thing to think about is what happened to my mother-in-law. I don't know if she's listening to the show today. Many years ago, and I hope I remember the story right. I was sitting here at my desk. I was working for KSL5 TV as a reporter, and I get a call from her. They're at the airport. I think everything's going well. They were dropped off by, I think, my husband. So they're dropped off, Dave, and they were trying. She had purchased some cooking pans.
As you do.
As you do. Before you fly to California to see your daughter.
There's no pans in California.
And she called me and she'd been snagged. She'd been snagged at the checkpoint, the TSA checkpoint with her cooking pans.
They drew the line at cooking pans. Like, no, say no to the cooking pans.
As I do, I suggested, can we just throw them in the trash can? Nope.
I got to come and pick up pots and pans.
You got to come and pick up pots and pans. I also think there's like a wrapped present rule here. Caitlin, can we research that real quickly? I'm not seeing it on my list here. I don't think you're allowed to, get a wrapped gift through the checkpoint. What do you know about
Which is hilarious. I have no idea if this is true or not, but it's hilarious because they have x-ray machines. Why can't I wrap it up?
Yeah. We're checking into that for sure. So I've also had a moment where if you think you can get a liquid through the checkpoint, you cannot. And mine was completely innocent mistake, like they all say.
I didn't have anything in there. It was just water.
Like they all say.
Just water.
Literally was just a bottle of water. Do you know how many times I tell myself before I get to the airport, before I get to the checkpoint, Throw the bottle of water at the bottom of your purse away. Throw the bottle of water at the bottom of your purse away. Deb, don't forget to throw that bottle of water away. You know what I forgot to throw away? The bottle of water.
Every time.
And it was, you can't talk your way out of this. Like, it's only half a bottle of water. You should have seen that thing when it was full,
they're tossing
sir.
that bad boy.
Well,
my son once tried to take on a Boy Scout knife, a pocket knife.
How'd that go?
I'm like, dude, that's. I could not believe that happened.
So when
they threw that away.
So when of course, I was not exactly on time for my flight. I wasn't late, but I was in that uncomfortable zone, that gray area where your nerves
You're not
are
early.
going. You're not early. You should have left earlier. And now here's the universe punishing you at the TSA checkpoint. Leave earlier. So everything stops down. They bring in the dog. They bring in the dog for the search. Of course, it came back that everything was fine. But now I was not through. It was no fault of the TSA. It's my fault. I forgot to throw away the bottle of water at the bottom of my purse. But they let me through. Everything was, ended just fine. But taught me a lesson. They mean it when they say don't bring more than, make sure it's less than 3.4 ounces.
I think it's about time that we reevaluate what we can and can't bring. Like the 3.4 ounces, is that really the right number? Because just to give you an idea, how we used to travel, when I came back from Spain in 1996, Spain is known for unbelievable craftsmanship with swords. I straight up brought on as a carry-on a 4-foot broadsword.
What?
I walked onto the plane with a 4-foot broadsword, and I stored it in the overhead compartment, and it was all fine, all good. Like, no one batted an eyelash, and now your 3.4 ounce liquid, your water bottle, Debbie, that cannot be accepted.
So here's the rule on wrap gifts. Wrap gifts are not prohibited from luggage when you fly on planes. However, they just suggest you don't wrap them. The TSA agents may need to open wrapped presents if an alarm is set off by something in your luggage. So there's the scoop on wrapping or not wrapping. I just not wrap them. I'd also not take cooking pans.
No pans.
Just buy them when you get there.
Broadsword, fine. Cooking pans, not.
This is some good cooking pans, though.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.